Okay, we are back with another episode of the Uncivilized Art Podcast, the geek and internet culture podcast where we talk movies, games, and geeky things. I am back once again with my man Sweet Bundy. We're about to talk all things Invincible. I guess mostly Invincible season 2, but we'll try and cover season 1 as well. But blanket spoiler warning for all things Invincible coming up a bit later on. Before that, we'll talk a little bit about our, maybe some general non-spoilery opinions. But before that, Mr. Sweet Bundy, how is you today on the 2024th year AD? I don't know why I said that, by the way. It just felt like the right thing to say. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. Today's Thanksgiving, but my family and I
yes.
Yeah, my family and I celebrated it a day before. So, today is just like chilling because, tomorrow is going to be work and that's Black Friday. So, pretty much any job that you got that involves some sort of retail or any kind of business like that whatsoever is going to be a little chaotic. So right now it's just the calm before the storm. But yeah, other than that, I'm just tired, recovering from that Thanksgiving food. That was good.
Yeah.
And just dreading tomorrow. I wish I had 2 more days off.
So Thanksgiving, I mean, yeah. So we don't really celebrate Thanksgiving in the UK. I guess it's kind of one of these things that kind of mildly gets acknowledged, but it's not really a thing over here, right? But I was looking up a little bit about it, and I was looking at stuff like, what was it? Some of the Thanksgiving traditions that you have, like the different types of cakes. Is it king cake? I think was one of them. Is that right?
I don't even know about that.
Okay, so you don't get no cake then.
I could tell you, what is it? I could tell you like the typical Thanksgiving food.
All right, go for it.
At least with Black people.
Make me salivate. We got some, was it beans, greens, tomatoes? What we got?
So not everything that I list is what I like, right? But typically you're gonna get cranberry sauce, of course, turkey, stuffing, collard greens, yams, beets, sweet potato pie. What else? I think I said greens already, but just in case I didn't, greens. Some people have roast beef, and what is it? Some people have pie, some cake, and it depends on what kind of cake you make. Like, I know my stepmother, she likes making carrot cake a lot, and her carrot cake, man, the way she makes that shit, absolutely delicious. I fucking love
carrot
it.
Cake is
But she
banging,
didn't
though,
make
for
it this year. I don't know what happened.
mate.
I don't know if she hid it from me.
You need to learn that recipe then, bro. You need to learn that recipe.
I'm about to tell her ass, teach me how to make it, because like I was looking forward to that shit. Last year I tore that shit up. I think she was like, "Nah, I'm hiding this," because I think they were doing something else. That's why they decided to do it for for one side of the family yesterday, and then the other side of her side of the family today. So yeah, I think she hid that cake. I honestly think she did. I didn't want to ask her because I want to be respectful, but I wanted to disrespectfully eat that cake. Like I'm telling you, the way she makes that carrot cake, it's like she's a motherfucking chef. So yeah, I was looking forward to that, bro. She makes her own frosting too.
Man, carrot cake is just something. I mean, the thing about carrot cake though is that it's kind of got a deceiving name because it's called carrot cake. So part of you kind of thinks, oh, it's carrots. Maybe it's a little bit, better for you than other cakes. Like, nah, like, forget it. Like, if you get a good carrot cake, like one slice of that is enough calories to last you a week. Like, it's madness, but it's so good though. It's so good, man. You get some good carrot cakes, got a nice soft oof, yeah. I do like a good carrot cake. I ain't gonna lie, man. I'll devour that thing too, man, for real. Like, it'd be like, yo,
Hmm.
Not even one slice ain't enough, man. Eating a whole thing, whole thing. I mean,
Exactly.
whole thing. So what's this about? What am I hearing then? Macaroni and cheese and raisins. Are you not supposed to put raisins in macaroni and cheese? Is that the thing? Is that Thanksgiving or is
Absolutely
that
not.
something else?
I mean, I never heard of people putting raisins in macaroni and cheese.
So is that like a like it because I see this thing on I can't remember if it was to do with Thanksgiving or another type of thing, but it was something about like you know if you if you put raisins in macaroni and cheese like it's like a I don't know maybe like a disrespect or you might get I mean I know people kind of make
I
jokes
mean,
about these sorts of things, but it seemed like there's some at least from what I was looking at, it seemed like there was something behind it, like or I don't know, maybe I'm looking too much into something, but I just can't believe everything's on the internet, right?
well, listen, I feel like white people love putting raisins in just about anything. Like whatever they could put it in, they'll put it in. But I never, thankfully, never heard of anybody putting raisins in macaroni and cheese. I feel like if they did that shit, is like those little TikToks that they do where they purposely do nasty things and
Mm,
just pass it off like, oh yeah, this is normal. This is what I always do, just for attention. I hate
mm.
those kind of TikToks. I
Could
hate
be
those
that.
kind of
Could be that.
trends.
Yeah,
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah, yeah, it
I
has to
mean,
be.
I don't believe I've ever had macaroni and cheese with raisins. I mean, I feel like if somebody put it in front of me, I'll probably eat it. Like, there's very few things I won't eat when it comes down to it. Like, I ain't gonna lie. If you put it in front of me, it's gonna get ate. You know, it's just like that. There's very few things I won't. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, here's the thing. It's not. I don't hate raisins. Like, they're fine, right? You know, they're not they wouldn't be my choice. You know what I mean? But I'll eat them, whatever. But yeah, I can't imagine. I don't know. Like to my mind, I can't imagine macaroni raisins and macaroni and cheese goes well. Like it, but then again, to be fair, sometimes odd combinations work. So it could be that. It could be that. So I guess until you try it, you don't know.
Nah, no, that's a
Hard
no for
pass.
me.
Um, I did well. Yeah, we don't have Thanksgiving here, so we didn't get all that food. But I did have a really good pizza recently. Um, uh, this place my little brother was he's been to a couple of times, and he was saying it's a great place. So he got some pizza there, and I ain't gonna lie, man, it was a good pizza. And I mean, it's been a while since I've had like a really good pizza. I've had okay pizzas. I mean, pizza's never bad when it comes down to it, right? But in terms of like when you get that really good, like professionally done, thick crust, thick base, and it's just like baked with. And the thing about pizza, like I feel like a lot of people don't even realize, is that everybody likes to talk about their favorite toppings and this, that's whatever. That's preference, right? Personal preference. But I really feel like the real thing about a pizza is the base. Like if you've got a bad base, then the best you're gonna hope for is an okay pizza. You know what I mean? Like you don't have a great pizza with a bad base. Like you really need to get the base of the pizza, like the dough, like correct. And like this
Oh, you
place,
mean the bread?
yeah, you really need to
Okay.
get that correct. Like if it's too thick where you just feel like you're chewing for forever, that's a problem. If it's too thin and you feel like you're just biting your own teeth, that's a problem. I feel like it needs to be like at a point where it's thick enough to feel like you're eating something, but soft enough to feel like you're not just chewing forever. And like yeah, this place really got it right. So yeah, shout out to Detroit Pizza.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my little pizza rant. Since
no,
we're
I
talking
thought
about
you meant
food, I was
like
like,
Detroit, the state.
well, I'd assume it's based on pizzas
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
traditionally found in Detroit,
Nah,
right? But
when you
yeah,
said
it's a
that, I
shop
was
called
thinking
Detroit
like you
Pizza.
meant just
But speaking of pizza, real quick, actually, I mean, as I'm sure everybody knows, pizzas were first done in Italy, right? Um, but I feel like at this point, you can't really call pizza Italian food. You know what I mean? Like it's all. I mean, yeah, it came from Italy, and that's always going to be true no matter what. But at this point, like pizza is so widely adopted around the world, and so many places have their different takes on pizzas and how they're made, how they're baked, what type of bread they use, types of ingredients they use, things like that. And there's so many different versions of a pizza depending on where you go. If you go to a pizza shop in London, you're going to get a different pizza than you would in New York. New York's gonna have different pizzas what they have in Chicago, right? You know what I mean? Like and like that in Tokyo. So I feel like at this point, pizza is just like world food. I mean, I don't know. That probably means nothing to nobody, but it's the stuff that I think about when I'm eating a good pizza. It's like
I mean,
it's not Italian food anymore. I'm sorry, Italy. I'm glad I'm glad it's something that got invented, but I feel like at this point you can't really call it Italian food anymore.
yeah, I mean, the same could be said for Chinese food typically, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just so widely adopted. I mean, it's called Chinese food, but it's not from China anymore. Right? It's what I mean.
Yeah.
Especially when you go to a lot of restaurants, they do like a lot of fusion stuff where it's Chinese and Thai or Chinese and Malaysian. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of fusion stuff, Chinese and Japanese. So or Chinese and British. It's or you get that as well. So like it's yeah, it's just different.
Yeah.
It's just a name.
Hmm.
Probably could be said about a lot of different foods actually. And I'm thinking about it. So many different foods are just so widely adopted at this point that you can't really say it's a cuisine of the country it came from.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
mean, typically, when you're outside the country, so it's not for everybody's taste. So, I think that's the reason why there's a lot adaptations of their own meals, just to go ahead and
Mm,
make it easier on people outside of that.
yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. Certain things that maybe are common in one part of the world, but over another part of the world is like, nah, we're not doing that. So they have like a different version, and I guess there's things to do with like different regulations as well of like different food regulations of different food bodies and how they get involved and what they'd allow, and that's probably part of it, I'd imagine as well. Um, yeah, but in the end, it just means that we just get a million different versions of something and good reason to travel.
Yeah.
All right, so apart from Thanksgiving, and filling your belly with with all kinds of goods, what else have you been up to? Like you've been managing some games, some movies, some shows. I mean, we're going to talk about Invincible in a bit, but you managed to get through anything else?
I finished Penguin. Penguin was great. Love that show. I have nothing really bad to say about it, besides a few missed moments, but we'll probably talk about that eventually. And
Mm,
when we get to that point, then I'll go into details about that. But very good show. Loved it. Um, I started watching the final season for Lois and Superman, or Superman and Lois, whatever. And that's the CW show. So it's a
okay,
lot of
right.
yeah, it's nothing I recommend to people. It's just something I watched one day and I ended up binge watching it, and it had enough good stuff in it. And since I already, you know, I'm binge watching it, I'm able to skip parts that I don't want to see. So I would never recommend it to people. It's one of those things where
Mm,
unless you like CW shows, and what I mean by that is the little teen dramas and just shit where they have these little plot points that you're just like, yo, what the fuck, just get to Superman, just let's get to Superman. And it's a really good Superman. But yeah, other than that, it's on his final season, and they have the same guy that played Abraham. I don't remember the actor's name, but the same guy that played Abraham in The Walking Dead, he's playing Lex
okay, yeah.
Luthor in this, and he is amazing. Really good. Really fucking good. And they have another guy from Walking Dead. I know him from The Wire, but the guy who played damn, what's the black girl's brother? Remember, he got his arm bit. His name starts with
Oh
a
yeah.
T.
Tyrese.
Yes.
Tyrese. Yeah,
So
yeah.
he's in it. Um, he was in a previous season really, and just featured in this season. So he's really good. So yeah, you get some good actors, and you're like, damn, what are you doing here? But that, not to disrespect the
Paying their
other
bills, isn't
actors
it?
that are regular, but they got some good stuff. Um, I just can't recommend it to people because it honestly has too many of that CW shit. And I
Mm.
know CW isn't really a thing over there, but um, it's just like this generic teen drama, love story crap that they have. So yeah. Um, other as far as games, I've been playing. Oh yeah, I finished Arcane season 2. By the way, great,
Oh yes, yes,
really
yes,
good.
yes. I haven't started that yet, but yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
on the
very
that's on
good.
the books. That's on the books.
And as far as games, I've been playing uh this. So I hate Among Us. I only played one match of Among Us. Never played it again. Did not like that shit. Did not like that trend. Wasn't interested in any games like that whatsoever, except for this one game that came out. I don't know if it came out before or whatever, but I know that I played it before Among Us. It's like a mini game in the Jackbox series or whatever. And anyway, the whole point of me bringing that up is Death Note had a game release based on that's very similar to Among Us with some changes to it. It's called Death
Hmm.
Note: The Killer Within or something like that. And I've been playing that, and I got to say it's very it could be very fun. Um I would not tell anybody to spend money on it. It's free right now if you have PlayStation Plus, so grab it. But it's very fun. The only issue, honestly, besides some gameplay mechanics that they could, hopefully fix in the future, is it depends on the people you play with.
Oh
If you
well,
play with a
multiplayer game, right? Yeah.
Yeah, if you play with people who are just fucking either too immature or they got some kind of mental issues going on, it's gonna be a bad time. It's gonna be a terrible time, actually. Uh, there are moments where you have people so the whole point of the game is just to find out if you're on the good side, find out who's the killer, right? And to do that, you have to discuss clues that you find and stuff like that. So that part already is interesting to me. But you can't have a discussion if you have a lobby full of 8 to 10 people all talking at once. Some people yelling, some people playing sounds off their phone into the mic because
Mm.
they think it's funny. Just a whole bunch of shit where I have to realize, listen, maybe these guys are fucking kids. Maybe I got into a lobby with some kids. I don't want to curse anybody out. Let me just shut the fuck up and just play the game and wait till it's done. Because if I were to quit at that point, then the whole game gets shut down. And I don't want to be an asshole like that. So I'll go ahead and usually just wait it out. And then, once the whole match is done, then I'll leave. But anyway, my whole point about it is it's a very good game. Well, sorry, correct. Let me correct myself. It's a very fun game. If you have the right people, definitely worth the play. Definitely worth checking it out if you find the right streamer to stream it.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That whole thing about people playing musical. I mean, I don't play a lot of. Well, I haven't really played an online multiplayer game for a long time now. But back in the day when I did, I remember that was an issue like from years ago when people just play their music like they're some wannabe DJ or something, just play their music into their microphone or whatever, and it's like, dude, come on, they just have to mute certain people just because it just gets annoying. Or yeah, games where you need to strategize a bit more, and a lot of times you just get people, everyone just doing their own thing, and it's just like flipping hell, man. You're trying to you like the one person trying to formulate some kind of game plan, and everybody's just running around doing whatever, and he's just like flipping. What am I even here? Like, what am I doing? It's just, Jesus, it's ridiculous. But man, I remember don't get me wrong, there were definitely, like you say, you can definitely find some people who are a bit more on it, a bit more on the level and that kind of thing. But a lot of times, yeah, you're a room full of like, I don't know, 12-year-olds that just finished school. They should be doing their homework. Or they probably bunked off school or something and just went home because they knew their dad was out or something, and was like, all right, let's play some game or something, playing their music on it or whatever, and probably not even playing any good music.
Usually, I used to do it when I was a kid just to troll, like back in the day where you could hear your teammates. Well, not your teammates, sorry, when you could hear your opponents or whatever, right? So like on Halo, I used to go ahead, kill somebody, and then I'll play some music in the mic while teabagging them. Just disrespectful, trolling ass shit. And they'll talk their shit, I'll talk my shit, and then they respawn and we do it again. So yeah, but at the same time, I didn't care if my teammates got mad. I was a kid. So that's why I try to understand it and just use it, use the right way where instead of bitching at them or whatever, I'll mute them. I'll just go ahead and mute them if they get a little too loud. And that's why I'm glad that they have that option. Because if you didn't have that option, then yeah, I might be cursing you out. I don't care how young you are. You gotta learn sometime.
Gonna learn today. So basically, you've become the grumpy old man. I was actually playing I was playing Half-Life, the original first Half-Life game. I've been playing that bit by bit over the past, I don't know, months now. I just completed it yesterday, just got through the whole game yesterday. And afterwards, I went onto the online section to play that a little bit. Because there's actually still people playing Half-Life online till this day. And still quite a lot of people as well when I went on, which was quite. I don't know if I was surprised by it, but I was surprised by it. You know what I mean? Like, it shouldn't be surprising because it's Half-Life. So it's a madly popular game. But it's also like, man, this game came out 26 years ago, and there's people still playing it online today. So but yeah, I went online for a little bit, and it's crazy. Like, first of all, like, pretty much everybody playing there is people who probably do nothing but play Half-Life. So I had no chance, right? So I'm just running around getting shot at multiple times, but did manage to get a few kills. And yeah, the first kill I did, kill I got, I was like, yeah, let me teabag this guy real quick. Let me just teabag this guy real quick. I might get another one, so let me just teabag this guy real quick. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I did recently. Anyway, was playing Half-Life. And I would say that, yeah, game came out 26 years ago. I've played it, I think, like 2 or 3 times before, but like years and years, back when it came out. So I haven't played it probably since 2000, early 2000s, maybe it was the last time. So I haven't played it for a long time. But yeah, I was playing it again recently, just kind of going bit by bit. And it was kind of cool, it was kind of an interesting experience because on one hand, it's like I've played this game before, I know it, but it's been so long, I've forgotten stuff about it, So it's kind of like playing it again. I definitely feel like I mean, I've kind of known this anyway, but I definitely feel like I don't have as much patience now as I did probably back when I was playing it the first time, because the game's not hard, but there was parts where I'd get up to it and I'll die and be like, flipping, I'll turn this off. I'll die once or twice. I'm like, yeah, flipping, I'll be bothered right now. Back in the day, but like, you just go, and no matter how many times you die, no matter how many times whatever, no matter how many times you fail a jump, trying to jump from one thing to another and you keep falling, no matter how many times that happens, you just stay till you get it and then you keep going. Now I'm like, I jump something and I miss a jump, flipping out, I can't be bothered right now. I was just like, that was just me throughout the whole last few months. It's like, flipping out, I can't be bothered right now. But yeah, eventually, bit by bit, got through it and completed it yesterday. And it's still a great game. Still a great game, in my opinion. 26 years later, still a great game. Definitely aged, right? Definitely aged, and not all in good ways. with the graphics and the controls on it is, they're not, modern controls are so much better now, so much more tighter. But yeah, still a great game. And what else? Also, what I does? What I started watching, Stranger Things season 2. So I'm trying to work my way through Stranger Things season 2, Stranger Things all over again before season 6 gets released. Is it season 6 or season 5? I've lost count. But the next season is going to be the last season. So I'm trying to work my way through all of them to prepare myself through that. Except I'm watching them again in different languages. So I watched season 1 in French, and I just started watching season 2, but in Spanish. So I'll just only watch one episode so far. So I'm just watching it again in with the Spanish dub on, and it's interesting because it's like I don't understand it fully, but because I've seen it before a few times, I'm kind of familiar with it anyway. So that kind of helps with understanding, basically what's going on. So kind of helps improve my my language learning a little bit while watching something. It's part of my my language learning lessons. I could justify it that way, But yeah, Strange Things is great. It's great. You haven't watched Strange Things, have you? I think you said you haven't watched it, or have you?
No, I haven't.
You
Not
haven't.
at all.
I'll definitely recommend it. I mean, I think if you like sci-fi horror, that kind of stuff, definitely with the 80s vibe to it, then I think Stranger Things is a great show. If not, then yeah, maybe if that doesn't sound too appealing to you, then yeah, maybe don't bother. But yeah, no, I really like Stranger Things. It's definitely one of my favorite shows in recent years, and I've watched it, I think, like 3 times before, and this is maybe the 4th time I'm watching it again. So yeah, or maybe the 3rd. I can't remember. I lose count. But I've watched it a bunch of times anyway. So yeah, definitely digging Stranger Things and getting ready for the final season. Speaking of final seasons, actually, Cobra Kai, this is the final season right now, season 6, which is on Netflix. But here's the thing: they released season 6 part 1 a while ago, and I knew they were doing it in parts. So I thought to myself, I'm not gonna watch it right now. I want to watch I'm wait till everything is out and watch them all together. They released part 2 a few days ago, and about a week ago actually, maybe about 2 weeks ago. So I thought, cool, it's all ready, all there. I'm gonna watch it. So I watched season 6, episode 1, all the way through to episode 10, and it gets to episode 10, and it's a cliffhanger, and it's like season 6, part 3 coming in February. I'm like, flipping hell, man. Flipping, because first of all, I thought I was waiting till the whole thing was out, and not only did I not realize there's going to be a part 3, it ends on the wildest cliffhanger. I'm like, you can't make me wait till February now. Like, the way it ended, you can't make me wait till February. February's like, what, 3 months away? 2-3 months? It's like, you can't make me wait till, you can't end a show like that or end a part of a season like that. I'm not going to say what it is because I'm trying to spoil it for nobody ain't seen it. But all I'm saying, if you've watched it, you know what I mean. You can't end part of a show like that and then make me wait till February. Like, maybe, I don't know, December at the latest. Maybe like, 29th of December or something like that, 30th of December. But February? You're going to make me wait till February? Man. Yeah. But yeah, Cobra Kai's a great. I love Cobra Kai. Great show. Making me wait till February. Ugh. Pissing me off right now, but it's a good show.
Yeah.
All right then. So let's talk a little bit about we're gonna talk about Invincible. I mean, like, we're gonna get into some spoilers and stuff like that a bit later on. Before we get into spoilers though, real quick. So mostly we talk about season 2, but since it is the first time we're talking about Invincible, let's cover a little bit of season 1 as well. So as a before we get into the main discussion, as a basic non-spoiler general opinion of both season 1 and 2, what would you say to anybody who hasn't watched it, Invincible season 1 or season 2?
When it comes to Invincible, there's like this sense of, oh, I think I know what this is going to be like at first, but then it takes a turn. and the entire time while you're watching, you start to grow more engaged with it. The comedy is there, and to me, I would say it's like a dark comedy. The reason why I would say that is because there's some stuff in there. There's some serious moments where you're like, oh man, that's tough. That is tough. But and the violence, the gore, it's up there. It's up there. But
Mm,
then there are a lot of moments where it's funny. Sometimes they try to be funny where it just doesn't work out. There are some characters that I like, two characters in particular that I feel like honestly they needed less screen time. They needed less lines, less screen time. And it's no reason, I mean, no fault on the voice actor. It's just whoever wrote those two characters, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. I don't know if they were just forced to do that by producers or something like that. But yeah, it felt like pointless tropes, and not even a trope where like, hey, yeah, we had to do this, and making a laugh about it. No, it just felt like the actual fucking trope. Um, the protagonist, uh honestly, at first in the first season, the protagonist, Invincible, he comes off like, to me, how can I say, almost like a side character, right? And I'm not saying that he is a side character, obviously, but that's the way he comes off at first. And slowly but surely, all the way to season two, he starts to earn that protagonist role for me. So it is a struggle to watch it, as far as like him being the protagonist, because every time you turn around, it's like, well, that's disappointing. That's disappointing. And I'm not, I'll go into more details when we get to the spoiler talk, but
mm,
um I would like to say, just for clarification, I'm all about the underdog tale. It's hard to say no to that. Even though that's another trope, not all tropes are bad. It's about the execution of it. So I'm all
mm,
for underdogs, but man, at first he's just he's just a joke and disappointing and everything, just a letdown. But yeah, if you're watching season one and two all the way through somehow, like, if you have time, yeah, you get to see that rise and get to see how he's trying to go ahead and fill in those shoes that he's supposed to fill.
mm,
Um, in short, to sum it all up, I'll recommend it if you're into, if you were into the Justice League Unlimited series, and you don't mind it being a little more edgy. The animation is not too good. Sometimes it's great, but oftentimes it is a little lackluster. It's a little awkward. There's one scene in particular in season one that was like, oh man, if this was done a little bit better, I would love to see somebody reanimate this, or see someday where they do like a rework of it. Cause there's this one scene where if they did it properly, oh my god, it would be like traumatizing. But what can you do? It's all about budget, right?
mm. Okay, I mean, I'm not sure all the bits you're talking about, but I guess we'll get to some of those bit later. But I think I agree with pretty much what you just said. That I mean, I'll say that I'd recommend it to. I mean, if you like, superhero movies and Marvel, DC, that kind of thing. Especially if you like the more kind of they mature theme superhero stuff, and more that leads more towards violence and stuff like that, then I think you'd enjoy this. I think there's a lot they do really well in this, but yeah, to your point, I think there's also a few things that seem like odd choices. And personally, I would say, I mean, actually, no, let me save it for the next section. That's maybe a little bit of a spoilerish. But yeah, if anybody hasn't seen it, I think I'll just say that yeah, it's worth watching. I mean, no show's perfect, of course. Well, apart from Stranger Things, but most shows aren't perfect. Um, And I would say this show though is really, really good, in my opinion. Pretty much excellent, I would say, in my opinion. But yeah, some few things they do here and there that I don't think they ruin the show, but they just seem a bit odd, to me. But who knows? Maybe I just didn't get it. Yeah, maybe I just didn't get it. Maybe I'm too dumb to get what they're trying to do. But yeah, it does have a really cool story of the guy coming up from having no superpowers to becoming a superhero, and his whole journey and what it means to be a superhero, and the morals that he has and how those morals get tested. And I just feel like, yeah, they did really well with that. I think especially in season one. I think I could say that without spoiling too much. But I think especially in season one. But yeah, let me not say anything else just in case. But yeah, worth watching.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we need to get into the main discussion. So this is the final spoiler warning. If you've not seen Invincible seasons 1 or seasons 2, multiple spoilers ahead. If you have seen it, cool. If you've not, you may want to watch them first, or if you just don't care about spoilers, then cool. But you've been warned. Spoilers for everything's Invincible, especially season 2, but yeah, season 1 as well. And yeah, there's your warning. So with that said, Mr. Sweet Bundy, what is your biggest takeaway from season 2? In fact, let's actually no. Let's start here. What were the characters you're talking about? The two characters you said their voices were off and they felt a bit goofy.
Well, not their voices. I felt like their entire roles. It was just you know pointless. Yeah, they had some plot points that I'm like, okay, but honestly, I would rather them be like very insignificant. One is Mark's friend. I forgot his name. The,
Okay, the dude,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
the one that discovered his secret while being saved by him.
yeah.
Him, he's fucking annoying. He's obnoxious. He has some good scenes when it comes to dealing with his boyfriend going through what his trauma, but I'm more interested in that guy's story than this motherfucker here. He just comes off annoying. I really don't like that character. But I don't hate that character as much as I hate Ashley. I hate
Ashley,
Ashley.
Ashley. Which one's
Ashley is
Ashley?
his
Wait,
black girlfriend.
Ashley's what?
His black girlfriend.
Oh, Amber,
Oh, Amber. Well, there you
Amber.
go.
Ashley. Let me
There
get
you
a
go.
name right,
So,
man.
uh,
Put some respect on the name at least. Amber.
no, mm-mm. She's I feel like everybody has gone past that point where she had um that scene where she got mad at Mark and she found out that he was in no, she been knew that he was invincible.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like she doubled down on that bullshit. Because at first when she breaks up with him and everything, she's like, where were you? And it's understandable, but it's like, oh, here we go again. Now he has to deal with the secret identity. He tells her, and you think, oh, she's gonna be shocked, and she's like, oh, it makes sense now, and we could just get that over and done with. But no, she doubles down on it. And she's like, yeah, I already knew. I'm just mad that you didn't tell me. Oh man, I listen. Maybe I'll hold on to grudges too much, but I could not get over it. With that said, they had some scenes in season 2 that were nice. It was nice to see those two just getting along, getting to be boyfriend and girlfriend and everything. And that was nice. But overall, I would rather her just take a back seat or just disappear because I can't get over that. I feel like that was fucking stupid. They ended up breaking up anyway, and obviously Mark is supposed to be with uh what's her name, Amy. So yeah, it
Oh,
is what it is.
Adam Eve.
Eve, okay.
Eve. Yeah.
So yeah, obviously they're supposed to be together, and that's even before that whole future scene or whatever happens. It just makes sense that these two are going to be together. So it's like we could have avoided this that whole storyline. Me personally, that's just my thoughts. I don't like those two characters.
All right.
That's all.
I mean, I would agree that Mark and Atomeve logically are a better match in the sense that they're both superheroes. They're both in the game, and they both got powers, so they can both deal with certain things a lot more effectively than being in a relationship with somebody who doesn't have superpowers. So yeah, I think I'll agree with that, and I think. Well, clearly Amber agrees with that too. That's why they split up. But here's the thing: I'm gonna say something, and I recognize that I am very much in the minority with this opinion. But I actually liked Amber's character throughout both seasons 1 and season 2, and yeah, I remember the whole kind of kickoff with how she handled the revelation of him being a superpower, and certainly I would say that she maybe didn't handle it in the best way. I mean, two wrongs does not a right make. He should have told her, but once she found out, then it's kind of like you're both playing games now. So yeah, I'm not trying to defend the way she handled it, but also I do feel like I get it. Like he, I mean, any relationship has to have trust, and effectively it meant that he didn't trust her enough to tell her until it got to a point where he had to because they're going to split up. So it wasn't even that he wanted to, is that he had to. And that's a big thing to like deal with. Like you're supposed to be with somebody, you're intimate with them, you're sharing your life with them, you're sharing your body with them, but they won't tell you this thing about you because they don't trust you that much. So that's kind of a big deal. So I kind of felt like I get it. I get that she was upset. I mean, it wasn't the best way to handle it, in my opinion. But ultimately, I get why she'd still be upset that he didn't tell her. It's lying through admission to somebody you're supposed to be able to trust. You know, next to your own mother, that it's the girl you're supposed to trust more than anybody else in the world, right? And he didn't tell her. So I kind of felt like I understood why she was upset, and she had every right to be upset. The fact that he's a superhero is like, okay, yes, it explains why he's bouncing all the time, but it's kind of these things where it's like you're with somebody, you love that person, they're supposed to love you, you trust that person, they're supposed to trust you, you tell this person, you share with this person everything, and they're supposed to be doing the same with you, then you find out they've been holding something from you that's that important to a relationship. What I didn't like, I'd say, is that by the time it got to season 2, is I mean, I get why they split up, why she initiates the breakup. It makes sense why she would do that. She doesn't have superpowers. People can use her to hurt him. So everything she said was correct, and like I said, so it does make sense why they split up. But for me, it's kind of like, okay, so what happens next with Amber? And again, I recognize I'm probably in the minority when I say this because I liked Amber's character. I would like to see her in season 3, but the way it's going, it seems to me, at least anyway, I don't think there's much for her in season 3 anymore. She's kind of gone off and living a separate life now. So unless something drastically changes, it's like she's pretty much out of it. So yeah, I liked Amber. I understood why she was upset. Yeah, she didn't handle it in a great way. I would like to see her again in season 3, but I'm guessing at least the way it ended, it doesn't seem likely. But hey, we'll see.
I mean, I feel like no, just no, because when it comes to the whole Amber getting mad, that's if you were married to him and you had children with him, you lived this life where, okay, you decided this is the person I'm going to settle down with. Then I can understand if she got mad and was like, hey, you lied to me this whole time, why didn't you tell me? This is just a relationship that could end in the next month or two. They just got together. There's shit that even regular shit that you wouldn't tell somebody that you just started dating, so much less this. Why would he tell her his secret identity when, one, it could put her in danger, it could put him in danger, it could put his family in danger and everything. He just got in this relationship with her. She, that's it gives me vibes of when you're in a relationship and your partner wants to see shit in your phone. They're like, "Oh, give me your password." If you're hiding nothing, then you just give me your password. I've seen relationships like that, right? Where people just want the password to their fucking social media, like your Facebook, your Instagram, or whatever, because they're like, "Well, what do you have to hide?" Or let me see your phone. That's what it gave me vibes of. Like she should have just sat down and been mature enough to been like, "Hey, I get it. I get it now. This is why." And that's where it should have ended if it was going to even be a plot point between those two. For her to get upset about him having a secret identity and hiding it for obvious fucking reasons, and you see the repercussions of that in the following season, where the Viltrumite came out of nowhere and was getting ready to snap her fucking neck into. Yeah, that's the risk that he was trying to protect her from. But she decided to be a bitch and go ahead and say, "Hey, you should have told me about this. That's why I'm mad at you." That's what I'm saying. That is nonsensical. It's just fucking stupid. It really pissed me off. And I have like when I rewatched it, right? When I was rewatching it for this, I got mad all over again. I remembered, like I knew I didn't forget why I was mad at her, but I didn't remember how mad I was at this character. I hate it. I
I mean,
hated this character because it honestly
yeah.
it's on so many levels of how stupid it is. And I'm glad that in season 2 they show that scene where you get to it all comes back to square one. Like this is what he was trying to prevent from happening. And it could have gone way worse.
No, it could have. It could have. And yeah, I'm not suggesting he should have told her right away, of course. I mean, that's a big thing to just tell somebody when you just start. But certainly there was a point where it's clear that they're serious about each other. And even though you're not married to somebody, don't mean you're not serious about them. But I think at a point where, look, this is somebody that you care about. Like when you've reached that point, whether that's a week or a month, but when you've gotten to that point where it's clear that this is not just another girlfriend. Like this is something that you actually care deeply for. I feel like at that point it's like, okay, look, we need to sit down and talk about this. But yeah, not right away. Of course, you can't be just telling every. It's not like Batman, like every girl he dates is just telling right away. But yeah, there is a point where it's like, okay, this is a serious relationship. It's not just a girlfriend. This is somebody that I care about, somebody that I love. We need to have this conversation. I mean, yeah, like I say, I don't think she handled it in the best way in terms of once you find out yourself that this is what's going on, perhaps she should have just confronted him right away rather than still waiting for him to say something. If he's because at that point you're both playing games, but at the same time, Mark is not innocent. Mark is not innocent. He.
I'm sorry, I gotta strongly disagree with that because again, they didn't have enough time to listen. Here's the thing: you could go ahead and say, "All right, I do care about this person, and I am focused on this." And I feel like he already did that. He decided that this relationship is serious, but it's not in the it's not the smart thing to do to just go ahead and reveal that until it's settled. I don't feel like, they were not together that long. They were not even together for a year. So that you have to let that wait because anything can happen. I've been in relationships where I've already had in my mind, oh yeah, this is where it's gonna be. And me and my girlfriend at the time, we were talking about, damn, talking about marriage in the near future and all that. And we weren't even together for a year. But imagine if I told her everything about my personal life or whatever the case may be, because I'm like, yeah, this is who I want to spend the rest of my life with, or whatever. And I did want to go ahead and proceed with that, but I didn't put all my cards on the table just yet because you don't know what's going to happen. And actually, we ended up having a mutual breakup or whatever. And that's all I'm saying is that
Well,
with Mark
maybe if you had
and
told her, you might have broken up.
nah. Now, when it comes to Mark and Amber, it's like he for him to go ahead and just the moment he falls in love and he's like, okay, I want to be with you. Hey, by the way, I'm this superhero, da 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 da. And then given all that information, putting her at risk, by the way, each time he does reveal his identity, it's just careless, it's reckless, and it will be it'll just be stupid on his character. First off, for him to even tell her in the first place was stupid. But that's him trying to go ahead and do that because the smart thing to do is what he was doing before. Hide your identity. It makes no sense to tell her.
Well, the
You are
smart
not
thing to
married
to
to me.
not be in a relationship at all. Like if you're talking about like because ultimately like if you whether she knows or not, she's in danger. Whether she knows he's a superhero or not, she's in danger if they're together. You know, anybody who finds out who he is and knows they're together, she's in danger. So it doesn't matter whether she knows or not. What matters is whether anybody else finds out his identity or not. You know, whether the enemies find out his identity or not. So the smart thing to do really is to not be with anybody. You know, I can't remember the superhero. I think there's a few superheroes that do this actually. I can't remember. I can't really I'm blank on some names right now, but I know it's come up in the superhero world where people have kind of just said, look, they just can't be with anybody because anybody they're with, they've put them in a danger. So that's really the smart thing to do. Yeah, and I do feel like once you've got to that point, and it doesn't. I mean, look, you could know in a day. You might meet somebody, and sometimes it's all it takes is a day, and you just know. You know, now, I'm not saying like in terms of like it's guaranteed it's gonna like or any time. Look, you might love somebody, they might love you. Relationship can still not work out. It is what it is. I ain't saying that just because it's a real feeling, don't mean it's gonna go the distance. Other things could come to play, but there's a point where you just know, and that could come a day later, a week later, a month later. There's no specific time frame of when that point is or when you just got together or whatever. It's only been this amount of time or whatever. Sometimes you just know. You don't always know how you know or why you know. You just know. And there was that point where it's like they knew that them two are serious. Like this isn't just like a regular, you know, one night thing. Like what I mean. This is real. This is real. And yeah, maybe you don't say it like right then and then. But certainly there has to be a point where it's like, okay, I need to figure out how I'm going to tell her. And that never happened. That never happened. Like, it was
There
never
wasn't
like...
enough time. that's the whole issue is that there's not enough
Well,
time.
they
It's not
got time to
about
be
that.
smooching.
Nah,
They
I'm
got time
saying
to be smooching.
that's different.
Like...
Nah, that's different. Because
You got time to be
again,
smooching.
we're talking about
Okay, how long does it take to kiss? And how long does it take to say, hey, babe, I'm a superhero? Like, you know what I mean?
no. What I'm saying is, when I say there hasn't been enough time, I feel like it needs to be more time to go ahead and decide, all right, I'm ready to share the secret. Because again, you could go ahead and be serious with somebody and be intimate with somebody, but to really be like, okay, I'm going to actually like this is actually going to work out. I'm actually going to be with this person for the rest of my life. Like we're actually going to get married. That takes time. He may as well like if we're going with that line of thinking, he may as well have gotten a ring and married her right then and there. But
No,
you
not
don't move.
necessarily. Not
Yes,
necessarily.
because
No. I mean, let me explain why.
here's
Because
the
like,
thing with
you
the
could
whole
what you could propose or that kind of thing. You don't necessarily. I mean, here's the thing: once you get to that point where look, this is something that you want to spend your life with, right? I mean, whether you get married or not, I mean, people have different opinions on marriage. So I wouldn't say you have to do that. Like some people are for it, some people against it, some people don't care about it. People have different opinions on marriage. But the point I'm making is that there is a point whether marriage comes into it or not, there's that point where you're serious about somebody, right? That's when, okay, even if it doesn't come at that exact point, that's when at least you should be thinking about how am I going to tell her? Because it's a pretty big deal. It's not like, okay, you don't have to tell your partner absolutely everything you've done in your entire life because most of it is irrelevant, right? But anything that is a pretty big deal, like a significant part of who you are, they need to know if you're going to be together, right? If you're not sure, you should tell them and just let it go. Like if you have something about you that is a pretty big deal and you can't tell the person you're with, then let it go. I mean, just let her go. Like it's not. She's not the one for you. If you feel you can't tell her, she's not the one for you. But
I
if
feel like
you
this.
can,
Eh,
but if you
Nah, go
can,
ahead, go ahead.
if you're gonna be together, then she needs to know.
I feel like this. You can't go into every relationship with that line of thinking. Sometimes
No, no,
you
no.
have
You
to
missed my
go.
point. You missed my point. I'm not saying like every single person you date, you tell them everything about you. No, of course not. But just when you get to that point, we are with somebody when you are when you do know that this is a serious relationship now. You before you're just kind of messing around. Now, whether that's whatever time frame you have, but whenever that point comes where you know in your hearts of hearts that this is a serious relationship. And again, that doesn't mean it's guaranteed to last forever, but just when you know that this is a serious relationship, that's when you should be asking yourself or figuring out how you're going to tell them about whatever the important things about you are. And they should be doing the same thing if they've got things about themselves that you need to know.
And again, that's why I'm saying they didn't have enough time to get to that point where that would be something that Mark is like, okay, yeah, this is who I'm going to share this secret with. They were like, when you get into relationships, some relationships goes fast, and some other relationships they go a little bit slower. And I feel like with those two, yeah, they were close and everything. They were very, intimate and everything. But it wasn't to the point. Like, there are so many, especially in college, there are so many times where you get into relationships and you're talking in a certain way, you're saying I love you and everything, and it seems like, yeah, this is gonna be the one, and then you end up breaking up for whatever reason. It doesn't matter. But
Yeah,
it's too much
that's
of a
part of
risk
being young,
for
isn't
him.
it?
Yeah, and it's too
That's just
much of
part
a
of being
risk.
young. Look, you're not always going to get it right. Like sometimes you think
No,
she's
no,
the
I
one and she's not.
absolutely no.
That's
That's not
that's part of it, right?
no.
Sometimes you
That
think she's the absolute one, the one you're going to marry, the one you're going to have kids with, the one you're going to spend the rest of your life with, and then you break up 2 days later. It happens that way, right?
no,
You
that
know, you
that's fine.
sometimes you
But the whole
sometimes you know beyond anything that this is the one, and then it doesn't work out. And it may not even be her fault or your fault. It's just how it goes sometimes, right? So yeah, I get it. Like sometimes you want a little time. I'm not even saying you're wrong in terms of waiting, but it's more like, okay, look, you're with somebody and it's clear that, you know, you're disappearing on them a lot. It's clear that you're lying to them. It's clear that you're stretching the bounds of this relationship. It's clear that, you're practically pushing her to the edge of, does he even like me or not? And if you're serious about this girl, then you need to let her know. Because otherwise it's just not fair on her to be, oh yeah, let's go out. Oh, I'm canceling. Oh, let's go ahead. No, I'm canceling. Oh, let's go ahead. No, I'm canceling. You know what I mean? It's like you're stretching this. You're stretching this. It's like there's a point where it's like, look, if you're serious about her, you need to know. Otherwise, it's just ridiculous that you just bounce on her all the time.
she
You're just
wasn't upset
constantly
about
lying
that.
to this
No,
girl.
but here's the thing: she wasn't upset about that. She was upset that he didn't tell her that he was invincible when she already figured it out. That's one of the biggest
Yeah,
flaws about her character. I have
that.
no problem with her being upset with the disappearing and everything, if that was what she was upset about in the first
But
place.
that's
But
what she was
no, she
initially
was
upset
upset.
about.
She was mainly upset, and as she said, I already knew. I'm pissed that you didn't tell me sooner. And that's what she was mad about. And that's what she was breaking up with him about. She didn't care necessarily, like, don't get me wrong. Of course, she was like, what the fuck, like anybody would be. But when they had that conversation, when he confessed to her that he was invincible, what it came down to was that he didn't tell her sooner. And I feel like, no, when it comes to an understanding of the whole situation, it cannot be overlooked that that is a risk. It's obvious. It's like any time when they had Batman going through a situation like that, or any superhero for that matter, mainly Spider-Man or whatever, any superhero that they had going through a situation like that, it's just common sense, like to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I will be at risk. I will be at danger. If they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go ahead and make it a plot point, what they should have done is her be mad about, if she's going to be mad about not knowing the secret, it should have been like her being like, you are a risk. I'm in danger by being with you, and you should have let me know that. That should have been the argument. not like, oh, you should have told me, you shouldn't keep a secret from me. I feel that is so fucking stupid when it comes to the type of secret it is. Not any secret, but the type of secret where it's protecting you. yeah, yeah, fuck Amber.
No, I mean, it's a trust thing, isn't it? Like, because that's really what it comes down to, is like finding out that somebody that you trust with your whole being doesn't trust you with their whole being. That's a tough thing. Like I said, if you ever find out that like well, I just slipped my own table. You ever find out that you had feelings for somebody that you thought had feelings for you, and you thought that they had genuine feelings for you, and then you find out they didn't. I think it's along those lines. It's finding out that this person who you thought trusted you, that you trusted, and then they didn't. That's a tough thing to find out. So yeah, of course she's going to be upset that he didn't tell her. That's like, well, what do you even think of me? Like, what am I to you if you can't tell me this? Like, are we just are you expecting this to? Because you have to remember, like, when it comes to relationships as well, that not everything is logical. In fact, most things aren't when it comes to relationships, right? Most things are very, very emotionally driven. So at this point, you might not necessarily be thinking about the danger aspects of it. It's more like, no, there's a massive trust issue. Like, what are you to a person that doesn't tell you who they are when you shared so much with them? That's a big thing. It is not like, oh yeah, he's a superhero, it's fine. It's like, well, does he trust me or not? Does he like me or not? There's that. So yeah, I feel like she had every right to be upset that he didn't tell her. I think she should have confronted him when she found out. Personally, in terms of like how to handle it, but again, people are young, college age, high school age, I think at that time. You're not always doing the right thing. You're not always doing this, the sensible thing. And again, it's more emotionally driven than logical, right? But yeah, she did have every right to be upset that he didn't tell her, because like that's a trust issue.
I gotta disagree with that. I don't see how it has anything to do with trust, because it's like, trust her for what? Like, trust her with what? It's not that he wasn't telling her because he thinks that she's gonna blab out his secret identity. It's that when he did tell her and they started, having their relationship with his identity just out in the open, and he's taking her places and everything, what happened in season 2? That Viltrumite came right there and was about to rip her head off.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, if those two, I'm not saying that it would have been impossible for the Viltrumite to not figure that out, but it wouldn't have been as easy. Definitely not as easy as it was. And that was the whole thing. Just not putting her at risk. It's not about her being trustworthy or not. It's just like, hey, I got to protect you. I care about you. I don't want you to be exposed to this. That's it. I don't think
Yeah, I mean,
that
I get
Mark
that,
looked at
but
her and was
ultimately
like,
she's at
oh,
risk
she might.
anyway.
What I'm saying is that
Yeah.
you lessen the risk. It's like saying, if you have a bulletproof vest on, there's a chance that the bullet's still going to go through or even hit somewhere where the bulletproof vest is not covering. But would you rather not have a bulletproof vest on, or on when you're getting shot at? You want as much protection as you can get. And with Mark, I feel like he wants to give as much protection as he could for Amber in that situation. I don't think it came down to him not trusting her. It came down to him just trying to do the right thing. And I felt like understanding goes on both sides. And she did not try to understand him whatsoever. So she gets no excuse, in my
And
opinion.
also,
For me personally, she gets no excuse. Shit character to me. I'm
no,
sorry.
and also you have to remember that Debbie, his mum, knew that he's invincible, and she's got no superpowers at all, and just lived in that house. So the whole protection thing doesn't. I feel like that doesn't really hold much
Nah,
water. Like
but there's a
because if
difference.
he no, because think about, like, okay, if he can get to his mum, as a way of hurting him, and she knew about it, and she just lived in that regular house, right? Like, if he wanted to protect her and she knew, he could have got her to, or at least tried to get her to live with in a Cecil, was it, headquarters type place, You know, so I feel
but
like
there,
the whole trust thing was, I mean, the
nah,
whole
nah.
protection thing. I'm not sure that was his thought
I got
process.
nah
I'm not sure that is his
because
thought process.
no, because here's the thing. When it comes to his mom, first off, his mom says what she wants to say, and she does what she wants to do, and he knows that he's not going to be able to convince her to do that. He tried making her go. I think in season 2 he did try, if I'm not mistaken, try to get her to do a couple of things to make herself more safe, but she put her foot down. If not him, it was definitely Cecil trying to come over and say, "Hey, you need to do this," and she refused because she's like, no, she's hard boiled, she's stubborn, and yeah, she suffered the consequences. She got her arm practically ripped off. She got fucked up. But before that, it was Omni Man that was at her protection. Nobody was fucking with Omni Man. Nobody wanted to fuck with Omni Man. That's, Superman on steroids at that point.
Hmm.
So that was her protection right there. Unfortunately, Mark is not at that level. And regardless, Mark is the son. He's not going to be able to force her to do anything. And you know, he can't tell her, hey, do this, and she's gonna listen. He tried bucking at her once in season 1 when she was like, hey, go in the house. And he was like, make me. And she had one of the most perfect responses where talked to him like his mother. She said, does it make you feel like you're better than me? Does it make you feel strong when you talk to me like that, knowing that I can't physically make you do this? And I felt like that was such a great fucking line, because usually the typical way of going about it is his mom responding all hurt and weak and all that, and trying to tug at his emotional strings. Instead, she stood her ground, and that spoke volumes of the type of character that she is. She is the type of character that will stand there 2 feet, doesn't care about the risk, and will tell you like it is. And I love that. And I think that's one of the reasons why maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but I think that's one of the reasons why Omni-Man settled with her. He referred to her as a pet and everything, but in season 2, when he was with the other chick that he had a baby with, the alien, um I think he tries to suppress, before that whole thing, he tries to suppress those emotions, those you know quote unquote human like qualities. And I think there was a genuine reason why he picked her out of anybody that he could have settled down with. He picked her to have a baby with, to have an offspring with.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think Debbie was definitely one of the best characters. In fact, probably my favorite character actually was probably Debbie. I'd say, just because, like, like you said, she was a strong character. She she didn't have superpowers or anything, but
Mhm.
her attitude towards things, and even that when she was hurt and upset by Omni Man's actions, how she kind of just keeps going on. She's like the superhero without being a superhero. So yeah, I think Debbie was definitely one of the best characters. And
Yeah.
Omni-Man was a complete bastard. Like, there's no two ways about it. He was just a complete bastard. Like, the way he treated her, and whatever reason he ended up with Debbie, whether he had genuine feelings for her or not, I feel like that's just even irrelevant at this point. The way he treated her was like, nah, that is so bad. That is so
Yeah.
bad. Man called her a pet, like, that is so disrespectful. That is so
Yeah.
disrespectful. And the thing about, I'll tell you one thing I didn't like about season 2, actually, is how they tried to kind of make Omni-Man a bit more on a good guy side now. Oh, he's abandoned the mission. Oh, he's trying to protect his new family from the Viltrumites. And it's like, okay, cool, but he's not really atoning for anything, has he? Like, I mean, he killed the Guardians of the Galaxy, or the Guardian, what they call the Guardians of the Globe. Them guys in the first season, killed
Mhm.
them all brutally.
Yeah.
Killed entire planets. Battered his own son, called his wife a pet. I feel like there's certain things you don't just say sorry about and then all is forgiven. Like, no, you need to, like, really kind of, if you're genuinely sorry about this, then you need to atone for that. Like, you can't just be like, oh yeah, I've got a new kid now. I need to protect him. That's why I called you. It's like, bro, what? So yeah, I kind of felt like they're trying to make him more on the good guy side now without really giving him an actual redemption arc. Like, if that's his redemption arc, I feel his redemption arc is weak. for what he did, he needs a stronger redemption arc. And what they did, it just felt kind of like, nah, I don't care. That's not. It's just too little, too late, bro. it's too little, too late.
I feel like it's not so much that they're trying to, like, for me, not so much that they're trying to make him a good guy. I think that, you know, when he was beating down Mark, he started having flashbacks, and that's when he started real, that suppression of all those emotions that he's been trying to, keep at bay. I think they started to rise. And you know, when he left Mark and everything, and flew out there, and he was getting ready to off himself, I think that was just everything that, he's been trying to hide for all these years, finally coming to the surface. And it's not so much as, hey, let's feel sorry for him. It was more like the way I took it, because I didn't feel sorry for Omni Man. The way I looked at it was, I start to understand him a little bit better, because the entire time while watching him do this shit where he's suddenly flipped, it was giving me vibes of and I think I mentioned this to you before, or I had a conversation with one of my boys about it. Um that movie, fuck, what is it called? It's with the evil Superman, but as a kid. It starts with a B. I can't not remember it, but um in that movie, real short, not to get too off topic, the whole
Oh,
one of
Brightburn.
my biggest, huh?
That Brightburn.
Yes, Brightburn.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
did you
Not
ever
seen
see
it,
that
but yeah,
movie?
I know the movie.
Okay. I won't spoil too much, but well, it is a spoiler, whatever. Uh, my main gripe about that movie is that the kid suddenly switches. He goes from being like a regular kid to all of a sudden he's drawing this symbol, and he's looking at gore and all that shit, and all of a sudden he's evil and he's suddenly killing people. And it was like a light switch. I fucking hate that. I feel like it's lazy. So with Omni Man, I was like, yeah, there's, don't get me wrong, it's not as bad as Brightburn, because they right out the gate from episode one, they show you what type of guy he is. But I want to know, I wanted to know, why is this guy like this? And you know, I feel like with season two, they start to introduce like the other side. They didn't explain it all the way yet, but now I see that they're getting the progress of, okay, we're gonna go ahead and tell you more about this guy. You're gonna learn more about this guy and see where he's coming from. And that understanding, is up to you if you want to go ahead and have a new perspective on, well, not perspective, but a new you know, judge his character a different way. If you want to decide that he's sympathetic, if you want to decide he's still an asshole or whatever, that's up to you. But here's his story. And I feel like season two is introducing that. Like, that's the way I took it. Because I do not, under no circumstances, feel sorry for him. I completely agree with you that he's a fucking asshole. He beat the shit out of his son. He killed countless people without even a thought or whatever, you know? And the thing is, if his mission is to take over the world, he could have done that. He could have done that before he even had a family. Why did it take you so long? Earth was, there was no opposition really. Like, you could have bended this plan. Why would you wait? And I don't know if, oh, he was waiting for to have the offspring. Okay, if you were waiting to have an offspring to join you in this fight, what that says to me is that you need an offspring to do it. But you don't. You're fucking, like, there's nobody to oppose you. You defeated them just on a whim. You didn't even have time to prepare to defeat these guys that you were fighting alongside with. You get what I mean? And you could have even
Mm.
done it a little bit better by killing them off one by one. So it's interesting to see where he comes from, but at the same time, yeah, Omni Man's an asshole. So no, I won't change my opinion about that. But I do want to know more about him. So yeah, as far as like what they're doing with season two, with Omni Man, I'm very interested in his story. I want to know more about him in season three. I want more scenes with him, but if it, I will say this. I hope that it doesn't go in a direction where they really tug at, try to tug at your heartstrings and say, hey, isn't he going through so much? Don't you see that he doesn't want to do this? Nah. I don't want any of that bullshit. Keep, you know what I mean? Because they're a race of warriors. They're like Saiyans. They fucking spent time killing each other until only the strong lived. So I want to see that from Omni-Man. But at the same time, I don't mind seeing another side for him. I don't want to see just one, face.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I'll tell you what I was kind of thinking and why a lot of it doesn't really make sense to me is like, so he spent some 17 years on Earth, supposedly preparing Earth to be taken over by the Viltrumites. But, he's raising the family and, he's, like you say, he's kind of waiting with son. Like you say, he could have just done that. There was no real reason, at least for what I can tell, there's no real reason for him to wait so long. He could have just turned up, maybe rescued a few people and be like, yeah, no, we're just going to take you over now. And if you oppose, we'll kill you. Because that's pretty much what happens in the alternate universes when they show those as well. Like, yeah, we're just going to kill. It's like, you don't need a son for that. You don't need anybody for that. He's literally like by far the strongest, fastest. The whole Guardians of the Galaxy ripoff team could even take him out. And how many times did he kill a mortal? It's you clearly don't. And even when Anissa from the other Viltrumites turned up and she just took out that big sea monster thing just right quick, it's like, come on, you don't need a son. So I'm not sure that was even part of the plan. And especially when the other guy was all like, so it's true, Nolan fathered a child with an Earthling. So they apparently some of them didn't even know that he did that, or they just maybe heard rumors. So it clearly was not part of the plan to take over. So yeah, something happened, whatever. 17 years later, he still hasn't done what he's supposed to do. Now, but he still wants to do it, at least by the time, season 1 ends. That's his whole kind of thing about this. He kills a Guardian Galaxy, he's preparing the Earth, and now he's trying to get his son to join him. And that's why he's beating him. And he's talking about how you're going to live hundreds of years and everyone else is going to die. What would you have in 500 years? I still have you dead. And like, that's that whole thing. And he wasn't wrong when he said that. He wasn't wrong. Like, they do live longer. Human lives are maybe, more insignificant to them. If they live for thousands of years and we live for maybe 80 or 90 years, by the time, I don't know, let's say Amber is, 50, 55 or whatever, Mark's still going to be looking like a 20-year-old, or maybe 25. I don't know how quick they age, but you know what I mean. It's even in our own lifetime, it's going to be a problem in terms of like how you relate to people. And then hundreds of years later, so he didn't necessarily say anything wrong from his perspective, considering that he is from this warrior race that, like you said, they kill each other until it's just the strongest ones left. That's his whole upbringing. And at his age, I mean, he looks like a earthling of about, I don't know, 40 years old, give or take, which means, I mean, I'm not sure if they actually said how old he is, but I'd assume he's at least a couple of thousand years old already. So, like, who's he really relating to on the Earth? So even when he said, Debbie is more like a pet, like, yeah, it's disrespectful, but from his point of view, like, he lives, I mean, we live for 80 years. Pets live for about 15 to 20. You know what I mean? So it's kind of that thing. They're so advanced in knowledge and years and how they live and strength and physics and all these sorts of things that us compared to them, we might look the same, but we're not. So he didn't say anything wrong in those in that scene from his point of view. However, it turns out he wrote books, and he wrote books about monsters that can destroy Viltrumites and a laser gun that can take out all these, and there were supposedly clues for. I was like, why would you write books about that? You know what I mean? So do you want to take over Earth or not? You know what I mean? Like what you know what I'm saying? Like which is it? Yeah. Because those books would have been written before that whole "what would you have in 500 years" speech. So are you on the Earthling side and you're trying to leave clues for your son to take over because you realize maybe you're too far deep into this thing and you don't know how to get out of it, so you're leaving clues for your son, but you don't really want to do it? Because if you don't really want to do it, you kind of beat him pretty badly, That's a kind of an odd way of sending that message, You disrespected your wife and his mother. You kind of sending mixed signals right now. If you wrote these books, with these clues in them, so it just felt like, what are we doing here? What are we
Yeah.
doing here? Like, are you fully on the Viltrumite side? Are you on the Earthling side? If you only just started having second guesses after you beat his son and had those flashbacks, then okay, why were these books written before? You know what I mean? It stops making sense now. It
Mm-hmm.
stops making sense. So like, I don't know. I mean, I just kind of felt like, for me, look, if he's somebody who was fully on the Viltrumites, fully on the side of like taking things over, maybe he got a little bit sidetracked with having a kid and that kind of thing, but ultimately he still wants to do this. Then for what he started having second guesses because he just raised a kid, because he just maybe in his thousands of years he never had a son before, I don't know, or never had a daughter before, and this is the first time he's done that, and now he's having flashbacks, maybe, right? And because of that, okay, I could understand that, right? And from there you could potentially build a redemption arc from, but in the end it's kind of like, you've done too much. You've done too much, and then all of a sudden you got these books, and it is like, I'm not sure I'm liking this. Like, this is not doing it for me. This is not making sense to me. Like, he's either a bastard or he's not, and you're trying to. It felt to me anyway that they were trying to make him out to be less of a bastard in season 2, and then by the end, when Alan finds him in the jail, and they're talking about like the other Viltrumite who already defected, and I guess some plan to break him out and help them or whatever, maybe. But I don't know. I just kind of felt like, bro, just kill this guy. Like, when the Viltrumites caught him, just kill him. Don't put him in jail. Just kill him. Just why are we wasting time now? Just kill him. You know what I mean? He took 17 years to execute a plan that could have taken 5 minutes, and he didn't even execute it. Just kill him. He's clearly a waste man at this point. Like, he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Just kill him. He's just don't even bother. Just kill him.
I feel like this. I know the book is already out there and everything, but I haven't read it. I was going to, because the cliffhanger and everything, I didn't want to wait. And plus they did this bullshit at the point of the release where, and I'm talking about the show. They did that 2-parter, and that was bullshit. I usually sometimes, yeah, a 2-parter, it makes sense, but that's usually when you have enough episodes. This season had like what, 8 episodes, right?
Yeah, I think both 8 episodes.
Yeah. And it's like 8 episodes, okay, fine. But don't do a 2-parter for that. Don't do that bullshit unless you're doing something like Arcane. So Arcane, and this isn't a spoiler, this is just the way how they released it.
Oh yeah, in
For season
sections. Yeah,
2.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly, right? So you get one day where you get 3 episodes. Then you have to wait next week for the next 3 episodes. And then the following week for the last 3 episodes. That made sense because of the narrative of like time skips, right? So with this, yeah, there's a time skip, but the time skip wasn't drastic. And also, it just lost the momentum. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't make the show, you know, make the story weaker, but it just lost the momentum for me. I
Mm.
honestly, I actually just wait. At the time of release, I waited till everything was out, and then, even then, I waited even longer before going back and watching it. I wasn't excited and waiting for it to come out with the part 2. Like, oh man, I can't wait. No, fuck you. And they even made a joke promoting season 3, like, hey, no time, no breaks this time. Yeah, because it was fucking stupid. But anyway, I'm getting off track. My whole point of bringing up season 3 is that I feel like they need to do this properly. If they want to tell because obviously they want to tell more about Omni Man, but you have to do it properly because that's a great question. Why did he write those books? you know, I really want to know, and I don't want it to be like, I really hope it's not, oh, I was always against the Viltrumite in some way or another. I hope that's not the reason. But I can't think of another reason at this time. Like right off the top of my head, I can't think of another reason. And I hope that the reason is good.
Mm.
Because you could bring up you could bring up a lot of crazy plot points, but the execution is important. If you are not, you know, how can I say? If I tell you, this character is like X, Y, and Z, this character did X, Y, and Z, you'll be like, what the fuck? Right? But if I tell you the reason behind that, and the reason behind it makes sense, and the reason behind it you can understand, and it adds even more context to everything that you've witnessed to that point, then I have told a good story. So I'm
Mm.
really hoping that that happens with Omni Man's explanation behind his actions in this next season that's coming. And I mean, that's not the only thing I'm looking forward to, but that is one of the main things I'm looking forward to is the explanation behind Omni Man and more story behind him and the other guy. um I can't remember his name, but the other for lack of better words, turncoat.
Oh, the yeah,
Yeah,
the one that tried to kill Alan, but he turned him into a muscle man. Well, he didn't try to kill him.
yeah,
He risked his life on a whim,
yeah, yeah,
and he turned into some big muscle thing. But yeah, another one. The lead, yeah,
yeah.
some leader of was it Galaxy God? I can't remember what they call, but yeah, that guy.
Hmm.
But yeah, be interested to know because like they talk about how Viltrumites generally don't abandon their posts, and now we have two Viltrumites who've abandoned their posts. One hiding and one just recent. So are there others that have abandoned their posts potentially? And if so, do they come into play? You know, but I think the Viltrumites themselves, like, I mean, so far they seem like there's no way of defeating them. Certainly, no way of defeating an army of them. Because they're so much stronger, faster, everything. They're so much more advanced. They clearly don't even die easily. After that guy's whole stomach got split open, he still managed to break
Oh, yeah.
Nolan's
Steve
back
Harvey.
just with a flying kick. You know, so it's like it seems like not much can. I mean, well, apparently it's a big monster. Someone can kill a Viltrumite, a giant ray gun or whatever. But aside from those things that nobody has right now, there's not much that can kill a Viltrumite apart from another Viltrumite. It seems so. Like if they wanted to take over Earth, they can literally do it anytime. So what I also want to know is why are they waiting so long? And like, why is it you send this guy to take over the planet or to get it ready, or whatever? Like, what you getting ready? Like, what what I mean? What do you need to get ready? It's like either you take over the planet, like you turn up and you say, hey, look, we're your new leaders now. Accept it or die. That's it. That's what it is. That's all.
Hmm.
What do you mean? What are you supposed to be getting people ready for? And after 17 years, which granted is nothing for a Viltrumite, but still an amount of time, a necessary amount of time that doesn't need to be waited. Why hasn't anybody else been sent down to be like, yo, what's this guy doing? You said you're here like 5 minutes ago. Why you ain't taken over this planet yet? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's like, what's happening in that time of Viltrum? And, this whole thing and communication between, say, Nolan and the Viltrumites, because apparently the whole thing, even about having sons, seemed to be more of a rumor on their side. But the way he was like, oh, so it's true that it seems like there's no communication between Nolan and the Viltrumites. Because if there was, it wouldn't be, oh, so it's true. It'd be like, I already know you're his kid. You know what I mean? If they're
Hmm.
communicating, they'll know it. It wouldn't be like a revelation of like some rumor that they heard. So like it feels like there's little to no communication between Nolan and the Viltrumites, and perhaps the only and if they've heard something that apparently Nolan supposedly hasn't told them, right? Are they sending spies then? Are there other people watching and coming back with, you know what I mean? Like, what is actually happening between Viltrum and Earth for the last 17 years? And why haven't anybody taken over the planet yet? Because it's kind of easy for them. It's kind of easy. Cecil, and that's another thing. Why they call him Cecil? The man's name is Cecil. Okay, Cecil, not Cecil. What the hell is Cecil? Cecil. Okay, Cecil. Anyway, but yeah, he ain't no match for them. You know, they ain't no heroes on Earth that are match for the Viltrumite. So it's like, bro, this is a quick thing. This is a quick thing. Like, why hasn't it been done already? So yeah, that's stuff I think needs to be explained, as well as to why is it taking so long, not just for Nolan but for all of them.
Yeah.
And yes, Cecil. I ain't gonna lie, man. I mean, it's not that it bugged me. I ain't gonna lie. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. But it did definitely stick out. Like, why they call him Cecil? Like Cecil, Cecil, like Cecil, 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 Cecil. Like, what the hell? Americans.
So
Oh,
how did
sorry.
you
Yeah.
feel about like at least when it came to season 2, right? I felt like they had a lot more moments with the teen group, or not just, I shouldn't say the teen group because they have some adults in there too, but you know, the
Yeah.
new heroes. They had a lot more moments with them, and I mean, they got fucked up in season 1, but
And season
really
2.
fucked up in season 2. Really fucked up, especially one guy in particular, Rex.
Yeah, his whole
Like
hand shot in the head
shit,
as
more
well.
than yeah, that headshot. I don't know how the fuck he survived that, but I mean, you know, in reality, in real life, we've seen people survive shit they should have never survived. That being, I've seen somebody survive, not face to face, but thankfully not. Knock on wood, but a shotgun to the face. How do you
Yeesh.
feel about, you know, all that?
I mean, yeah, I like the parts with the newer heroes. I thought they made sense, you know, for them to be there, and they, especially with the Guardians gone, you know, they need to step up, right? So it kind of made sense, and
Mhm.
but also they stepped up at a time when they're maybe not fully ready to step up as well. So it also made sense that they were struggling a bit. Um, Robot, what's his name? The kid Robot. He's a weirdo though. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
he was a weirdo in season 1. The way he cloned Rex without his permission, that took his blood without
yeah.
permission, and then he freed those criminals to clone him, and then made a body so he can be with a 12-year-old girl. Like,
Well,
actually, no. To be fair, she's
not
not 12.
yeah.
She's not 12. Okay, no, fair. Let's be fair. She's not 12. She's much older than that, but she just looks really young because of her powers makes her age backwards every time she uses them. So she has the body of a 12-year-old, but I guess the mind
I
of a
mean,
much older woman. But even still, it's just it's
I
like
mean,
you
but to be
sorry.
fair, like he doesn't even really have a body, you know. So they're kind of working on the same. I think that was where he connected with her on, or like that was one of the first things that he connected with her on. He doesn't. He's a grotesque looking little fucking man baby. Remember?
Yeah, no,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I kind of get it to that extent. It would be
That's fair.
weirder
That's
if
fair. But
like
still,
yeah, it'd be weirder if he it would be weirder if he was like, you know, they're both adults. It's just that they're dealing with, you know, being trapped in a body that doesn't belong to their mind, if so to speak. You know,
yeah. No, that's fair.
she's a
That's
grown,
fair.
yeah.
That's fair.
So
But
yeah,
yeah.
if we were going by
It's
bodies in a way, he's younger than her because
yeah.
he's this
It's
little fucking glob of flesh, you know. So I think that's where, you know, and plus he's like in that machine or whatever, and then he has to live through, you know,
mm,
vicariously through another form and everything. Well, he's dead now. That form of him, and you know,
yeah, because they cloned him
where it's
into the
gonna get weird,
Rex baby body.
yeah, where it's gonna get weird is when Rex starts getting older, like you know, not Rex, but Robot Rex or whatever.
Yeah.
When he starts getting older, then it's gonna get weird.
Yeah, but he Well, assuming because remember he said that he's working on something to stop her from de-aging. So assuming he can do that, then I guess it's just a little bit weird. If he can't do that,
Yeah,
then yeah, it's gonna get weird. It's gonna get very weird.
yeah,
Because yeah, he will get older while she would get younger, or at least physically. Um,
yeah.
his body's gonna get age. I don't know. Is he gonna clone himself again to a younger version of Rex again, or what happens at that point?
I don't think so. I don't think so because the whole point of him doing that shit with Rex, it wasn't. I don't think it was just for her. It was just. I feel like she was the last straw, you know, um, that made him want to jump out that body. Because who the fuck wants to live like that? How he was living as a fucking blob. He wasn't actually robot. He was just controlling robot.
Yeah. So he was like Krang from Ninja
Exactly.
Turtles.
Yeah.
Old school reference if you
Exactly
got
that.
that.
So, who the fuck wants to live like that?
I mean,
But
I'm not.
I don't agree
Hey,
with the way how he did it. I feel like he should, you could have cloned anybody. Why did you clone your partner and without even talking to them about it? I feel like,
yeah, that's a
you know,
that's
yeah,
such a mad violation of a lot of different things. And they do address it. To be fair, they do address it. Maybe not as much as they should have, because that is a crazy violation. But they do address it.
yeah.
Um, what was the thing though? With the team. Oh yeah, Duplicate as well. I'd be interested to see what happens with Duplicate. She kept the Prime version of herself a secret. She had a copy of herself that was kept a secret in case anything happened, which in this case it did. But she can, in fact, speaking of relationships that go quickly, she connected with um Immortal very quickly, and it made sense. I thought just because
Hmm.
like they both been around a long time. They both died multiple times, and I think that's how he explains it in that way as well. So like they connected very quickly, and
Yeah.
even though they kind of known each other, because when they first kind of got together, it kind of looks like, oh, he's just having a fling with a coworker, right? That's how they kind of introduce it a little bit. Um, but then it turns out no, it's more than that. They actually have like deep feelings for each other on a much deeper level. So when they all thought she died, well, she did die really. He's like really broken up by it, and then he goes away, finds out that Duplicate had a duplicate that was just hidden somewhere, and just in case. And I guess, well, does she still copy herself? Does she just let the world think she's dead now and stay with the immortal in secret? Or I don't know, I guess that waits to be seen. But yeah, makes sense so to have a copy of yourself hidden just in case. And that's actually
Yeah.
a smart move.
It was. And usually I hate when they do teases with deaths. I fucking hate that. But with hers, it was done so well that it was like, yeah, in retrospect, if she didn't do that, I would have probably questioned that at the end. I would have probably been like, yo, if why didn't she do this?
Hmm.
So it was smart. So
What's
I'm all for it.
what'll be interesting though is that the copy of herself, because like they share memories, the duplicates, right? So the copy would know what's going on when for their superhero stuff, and I guess they'd also know what's going on with her, but the copy would just be on her own, right? So I mean, I guess that's a combination of being bored and being excited at the same time. Because you have the memories of all the excitement going on with all the superhero saving stuff, but you also got, the boredom of just like being around on your own in some winter cabin somewhere that nobody knows about. So like, I don't know, that's got to be an interesting psychological trip. And maybe for all of them actually, because they'd be doing the exciting stuff, but also have her memories of, the boredom in a snow cabin somewhere. So like, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting to
I
me.
mean,
That's interesting.
they have a hive mind, or does it work like where if one clone dies or disappears, then it goes to the you know, to the rest?
I believe they have a hive mind. Like, at
Okay.
least that's how I've understood it anyway. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if they explicitly stated that. I'm not sure if they have, but I've understood it as they have a hive mind. Certainly, the fact that the hidden copy knew about Immortal and all that sort of stuff kind of suggests that there must be some way of sharing memories or sharing, thoughts or whatever, you know.
Hmm.
So yeah, I feel like they do have some kind of hive mind or at least some way of connecting their thoughts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not sure if they've actually explicitly stated that.
Yeah, because I mean, not to get too off topic, but like a similar character, in the anime Naruto, they have it to where you know they can make clones of each other or whatever. They make little temporary clones, and when that clone dissipates, when they just vanish or they get killed, then the memories and experience from that clone goes to the original owner.
Okay, so the
But it's
original
not
owner
like
doesn't
at the
have the
same time.
memories while the clone is alive, but when the clone dies, they absorb those memories.
Exactly, and same with
Okay.
experience. So, like, they had this one plot point where Naruto needed to train, but he didn't have that much time. So, to speed up the training process, he made as many clones as he could, and then all of them did the same amount of training, but it was as if he did that multiple times once they vanish.
Did he kill them?
No, they just run out. So if they run out of energy, they just vanish, and then
All
all that
right. So,
experience and
but he made
memory.
clones of
Goes,
himself, knowing they're gonna run out of energy, and then just like take their experience.
yeah. So that was one of the plot points too, to go ahead and speed up the process of the training and everything. So I wonder if duplicate does not the same thing with the training, but the memory at least.
It could be. It could be like that. I mean, like I said, I'm not sure if they explicitly stated how exactly it works, but yeah, it'd
Hmm.
have to be some way of because the hidden copy, the hidden Kate, Kate Zero would have had to have some way of knowing about Immortal and what happened and that whole thing. So whether it's she absorbs the memories after they go, which could be it, or they're all connected. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they have to explain it, but it'd be interesting if they did, just to kind of have a bit more clarity on what exactly happened. But speaking of clones and memories, though, Mauler twins, they were. I mean, at this point, we know the one thing we know for sure is that the original Mauler twin is gone. We that
Hmm.
what that much we know for sure. Whoever, because they were arguing about who was the original, and there's always that thing about, is this guy Prime, is that guy Prime, and you never really knew. But now at least we know for sure Prime is definitely gone. And it's just two clones of each other now. So
Yeah.
but yeah, the Waller twins were kind of interesting, kind of side characters, but also main characters at the same time, in a sense that, especially with season two, um, where they were brought in to clone Angstrom, not Angstrom, sorry, to not clone Angstrom, to develop the technology so Angstrom could copy his memories from all his multiple universe people. So they were very instrumental in that by building the machine, and of course after the explosion, and then their whole kind of story from there. For one of them was kind of disfigured, cloned himself, and then that clone poisons the one that cloned him, and cloned himself again. It's like, flipping out, what are you guys doing? Just keep cloning each other,
Hmm.
yeah. They're never gonna die. They just keep cloning each other. But yeah, the Mauler twins are quite interesting villains. What did you think of the Mauler twins, or the Mauler clones rather?
I like them. I like them from the jump. I like that they're not just flat out evil or whatever. They're bad guys for sure, but they're not like evil. There were times they could have killed people and they didn't. Like that one guard in the prison that they were locked up in.
Mm,
I'm glad that they just knocked his ass out instead of killing him.
yeah,
They
they
could have
brought it up
straight
as
up
well.
killed him. So I'm glad about that. I do like the dynamic of them arguing and everything. It doesn't get annoying. Some in some cases when they do situations like that in shows, it could get annoying. It could be like, all right, we get it. But with this, I never got annoyed with them. it was always you know, a little chuckle at the very least, and that's all I could ask for.
That's fair. I think I'd agree with actually. Um, but yeah, with season two though, there was a really cool villain that I felt like they could have done more with. I mean, I guess I understand why they didn't, but I feel like I would like to see more with Angstrom because he was brought in almost like a Kang. You know what I mean? Like he was kind of like Kang, in a sense that multiverse and all that kind of stuff, and he was kind of cool as well, like the way he kind of walked through the dimensions, even though it's totally pointless. He could just walk from one dimension to another. He didn't have to walk through multiple dimensions. But it was a cool scene where he's just walking through multiple dimensions, just like make these portals, walking through these dimensions to if he finally gets to our dimension.
Hmm.
But yeah, I liked him as a villain in that he started off as somebody who wanted to combine his memories all from all over the world, all over the multiverse, so that he can do good. But then it went wrong when he pulled his helmet off, and then because everything got so confused, and with all the other universes where Invincible and Omni-Man teamed up and destroyed the places, he kind of all that got confused, and he just thought he had to fight Omni-Man, Invincible. Um, so it made sense as to why that happened and how he kind of went through the different multiverses looking for uh Invincible to finally fight him. And even by the time we get to the end and they do fight, um I guess the real point of him being there, though, to my mind, was not so much to have the cool villain, so to speak, even though he was a cool villain. But I feel like the main point of him being there was to develop Mark a bit more, because in the first season, Mark's just become a superhero and he's kind of learning what it means to be a superhero. Not only that, but also that his Viltrumite descent heritage and what that means, and everything. So like he's kind of just got his first kind of introduction into the superhero world, where he just wants to do the right thing, and he took a beating trying to do the right thing from his own dad, right? And going into
Hmm.
season two, he's kind of like he still wants to do the right thing, and maybe he wants to prove himself a bit as well, to prove that he's not like his dad and this, that, and the third. But and part of that is not killing people. But then you have this guy Angstrom, who's so confused with all the multiverse stuff that he pushes him to the edge where he ends up killing him in a whole different universe. And he wasn't setting out to kill him, but he just got him so angry by going by putting his hands on his mother and his family. Like the line you don't cross, right? And Angstrom crossed that line, whether knowingly or unknowingly, he crossed that line. So Invincible, flies at him and he's pushing him through these portals and he's beating him to he's bloodied, doesn't even know where he is, just angry, and then he doesn't even realize he's killed him. He was that angry, but I feel like that whole thing was to develop Mark into this person who you had these ideas of what it could be of what it is to be a superhero, and this idea of being good and not killing and this, that, and third. But now you've come across something that's actually not only challenged your opinions and ideas on that, but literally taking you into that side where you didn't want to go to. So what does that mean going forward now that he knows that this is something that he is capable of? Granted, he didn't set out to do it. It wasn't his intention to do it, but he is capable of doing it if he gets angry enough. We talked about before about identities and protecting people. We saw very clearly what happened. That's clearly a trigger point for Mark. You hurt his family or you threaten his family, and it's going to be a trigger point. So what does this mean for somebody who doesn't want to kill people? And how do you be a superhero in a world where people know your identity, people know who you care, or the Viltrumite specifically know your identity, know who you care about. He might not be with Amber anymore, but I'm sure he still cares for her.
Hmm.
His mother, his brother. He has connections. And any good gangster would tell you the less connections you have, the better, right? So yeah, I feel like that was the main point of Angstrom was to develop Mark, and I think that's something they. Although I would have liked to see more of Angstrom because I thought he was a really cool villain. I can't lie. I do feel like they developed Mark really well with that as a back-in overarching storyline.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but Angstrom, I don't know. For me, he could have definitely had more involved, but I really see him or saw him being one of those villains that would have just pissed me off. And maybe that's a good thing, because that's what some villains are supposed to do. They're supposed to be that fucking thorn in your side, like
Mm.
not this guy again. And I see it like this: they have enough going on with the Viltrumites and everything that you don't want this guy being around. You do not want this guy being around. He's gonna be if he somehow survived or comes back or whatever to some capacity and he's still a bad guy, he's gonna be a fucking problem. Because he's just too intelligent, he's too talented. And the fact that he even was putting up a fight against Invincible at first is like, yeah, he's too risky. He's gonna come around and cause way more problems than he needs to. Um, so for him being killed the way he did, I felt like it was a sacrifice. It was a stepping stone, a reminder from Mark. Like, pretty much like what you were saying, echoing what you said. I really love that scene of, man, I thought you were stronger. I thought you were stronger, being all
Mm.
traumatized and everything. I don't like how they kind of rescued him at the end, because I'm
Yeah,
like,
that was lame. That was
yeah,
lame. I ain't gonna
oh,
lie,
we
that was
figured
lame.
out time travel already in the future. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that was what's the word? What they call it? Deus ex machina. When
Yeah,
something just happens out the blue that just like, oh yeah, time travel. All right, multiverse. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I get when you go into the multiverse, you could pretty much explain everything, and time travel, you could just pretty much explain everything. I get it, but at the same time, it did feel cheap. It felt
it
cheap.
did, and it doesn't make sense because and that's one of the issues with time travel and stories. It's hard to make sense out of it a lot of times, but it doesn't make sense because if you're saying, okay, did he go to the future or did he go to a multiverse? Because those are two different things.
Well, he
You know?
was, as far as we know, he went into a different universe. Now we don't know whether what universe that is, or whether what time in that universe he was. We just know he's in a different universe. And the Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess they figured out time travel and possibly multiversal travel as well.
They would have to
Unless
figure
they're
out
the Guardians of
multiverse
the
because
Galaxy of that universe that figured out time travel and then went back. But then, and they did say it took him a stuff. They took him a long time to find him, or I guess they were looking. But then, how would they know to look in different universes? Because as far as we know, they don't know about the multiverse unless I don't know. Like, it is, you know what I mean? Like, the only people who knew about the multiverse in our main world was well, I guess Debbie knew. Maybe she said something, and maybe that made him look. I don't know. Maybe, yeah,
either way, it was
uh,
bullshit.
yeah, yeah. Either way, either way, either way. It's like out of the millions and millions and millions of potential universes out there, you really spent that much time looking for one guy. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. And if you did, then there's going to be a really, really special reason for why you did. And yeah, of course, he's a hero of our world, but you know, that's not a special enough reason for them to do all that. I feel like Cecil, I'm saying it now, Cecil is a type of person who would just cut his losses at that sort of thing. He'd be like, you know what, we've looked long enough, let's leave it alone. He's come across as that type of person so far. So it's like, are you really spending 20 plus years looking for somebody across the multiverse? And then when you find him, you're like, oh, tell her that you love her, or tell her that you don't, just so she goes, oh, shut up. But you did all that
Yeah.
just so you can like confess to a bloody teenager How you look. Oh, shut up. You want to talk about annoying girls? That's one right there. At least that future version. Do all that just to be like, oh, I love you. You have to tell it that you love. Oh, shut up. I mean, true say though, like, I would say that she. I mean, let me be fair. Let me be fair. What she said wasn't strictly speaking wrong, in that it's best to let people know how you feel so they can move on. But it's like, come on, it's 20 years. Why haven't you gotten over this right now? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, you can't be that attached to one guy that you still 20 years later, you're still like, oh, just tell, like, come on, take your own advice. You know what I mean? Like, it's been long enough. Rex is still available, I think. Maybe. Or maybe younger Rex is old enough. That'd be weird. She was with Rex before. She can get with his clone. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be out of what they're doing so far, so not the weirdest thing they've done. But yeah, sorry, I kind of rambled a bit there. But yeah. I mean, so yeah, I mean, what was your specific issue with the way he got rescued?
I mean, it was the fact that as an ass pull, you know. Um, I always go with the belief of like, if you don't know how to get a character out of a situation, then don't put them in that situation in the first place. It makes no
Yeah.
sense because then the payoff never goes through. It's the same as when you know, you have this character looks like they're gonna die or they look like they died, and then you turn around and reveal that they didn't die or they came back somehow. Then why put them in that position in the first place? This isn't reality. This is something you're writing. Don't write this situation if you can't commit. So, if you're gonna throw this character in some fucking alternate dimension or alternate timeline, whatever the case may be, then deal with those consequences. Don't just he's there and he's like, oh my god, how am I gonna get back? How am I gonna? And then a fucking portal opens and they're like, hey, we're here to rescue you. Go back. What the fuck was the point? What was the point? They could have just had him kill fucking Angstrom or whatever the fuck his name is right there in his own timeline in front of his mother, have his mother deal with those consequences. That would have been stronger right there. They were like, oh shit. And she could, him fearing that his mother looks at him the same way that she looks at Omni-Man, or thinking that these people are judging him. And they could have played with that. That would have been way better than, hey, the whole confession with Eve, and then he didn't even tell her that he loved her. So it was like, okay, then what was the
Strung
point?
along.
So yeah, I feel like that was just a waste of time and an ass pull. Not the him killing so and so part, because he still has to deal with that. He's still traumatized by that. But I'm just saying, you compared to what you could have done, you dropped the ball.
Yeah, no, for sure. That yeah. I mean, once it was in that universe, it's kind of like, okay, I won't even, okay, if you're going to have him in a whole different universe, I do still feel like there's other ways you could have ended it, or other ways you could have rescued him. Like, maybe even stretch it out into something that happens in season 3, you know? But yeah, it's just like, it happens so quickly. And especially like, okay, he just killed Angstrom. I mean, if they're really like time traveling guys, why don't they like time travel to right before he kills Angstrom and then stop him from doing that so he's not all distraught or whatever? You know, it's like, you time travel to like after it happens and then start talking about, oh, tell her that you love her. It's like, his mind is not there right now. Like, he just killed a dude. He's just made his first kill and he's mad distraught about it. And you know that because you're a time traveling person now. So that's what he's going for at this particular moment. You could have been like, okay, let's set this clock about 10 minutes earlier. You know what I mean? Like, let's just do it then. Catch him when he gets into, pull him off real quick. maybe hold down Angstrom and tie him up too, or whatever they need to do with him. Then maybe do that. You know, maybe. I mean, it still would have been a bit of an arse pull, like you say, a bit of a lame way to end it. But at least it would have made more sense since you have time travel to a
Yeah.
point where you don't really have to deal with all these, consequences of just killing somebody. Like maybe do it before that.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, yeah, that bit definitely was a down moment for me as well, for sure.
So
But speaking of that though, since that did happen, and he Atomy did confess her feelings and ask him to tell her how he feels, to tell her you love her, tell her you don't, so she can move on. And of course, he doesn't in the end. What did you think of that as somebody who knows this girl likes him, but doesn't let her know whether he likes her or not? Like, what would you, what what's your thoughts on that? Since we're talking about how he dealt with Amber earlier.
I think he's trying to protect her. I think he's dealing with the fact that like the Viltrumites are going to come to Earth, and he has to still figure out how he's going to deal with that. Is he going to do what they're saying? Is he going to try to fight against them? He doesn't know because he
Mm,
has. I think, and I might be, I'm having trouble remembering, but I think the only person that he knows that he could. No, I don't even think he knows that Alan's alive, or he's spoken to Alan. Because remember, Alan is still with Omni Man. So
yeah.
I think at this point he's by himself. He's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do, and I can't stop these guys.
Mm,
Because it's not just one person that you gotta beat. You gotta beat multiple. And then he's
yeah.
also
Whole
probably
whole
thinking about it
armies,
like,
planets,
yeah,
maybe.
he's probably even thinking about it like, damn,
Planets.
these guys actually took out my father. So, and my father kicked my ass.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he has a lot to be scared about right now. So I think he's just too scared and distraught, and then plus he just went through something traumatizing. It's too much, and that breakup with Amber fucked him up too. So it's
Mm,
way too much going on for him to be like, hey, maybe I should have a relationship right now.
mm,
And plus, is another distraction. So I think he's just more focused on like, I gotta save this fucking planet, or I
mm.
gotta, one way or another.
Yeah. No, I
Because the
think I.
guy, the Vegemite, did say something interesting. He said, "Hey, you could go ahead and kill a few people and then take over the world, or we could go ahead and come and kill millions. It's up to you."
Yeah. Strip it down to his bare bones. But yeah, and I think I agree with that. I mean, I'm not sure I would agree with that whole him focusing on the world. I think just at that point, it's like, look, he just killed somebody. Like you say, he broke up with his girlfriend. He's mad. He's angry. He's confused. He's wondering about a lot of things. Thinking about girls at this point is probably like the last thing on his mind. So, although yes, you should tell people, so you should let them know. I think that's true. It's just not in that mind space right now to be dealing with something like that. So I'm not mad that he didn't tell. I feel like it just made sense that he's just not in the headspace to be like, oh, should I tell this girl if I like her or not? Do I even know if I like her or not? You know what I mean? Like it's. I feel like it's more kind of like that, and it's like, look, maybe that's a season 3 thing where it's like, look, what's her name again? Eve. I don't think we're gonna work out, so jog on, bitch. Maybe that's season 3, episode 1. But thinking in this bit, in that scene, yeah, it just made sense to me. It's like, look, you're not really in the headspace to be even really thinking about that kind of thing, and so yeah, I ain't mad at it. But yeah, I mean, I think as far as protection and stuff like that goes, I mean, Eve can pretty much take care of herself for the most part.
Not against the Viltrumite.
Well, yeah, no, but I mean, that's just she's gonna have to deal with it anyway, regardless. So that's it, regardless whether they're together or not. That's a fight that's coming anyway. So bye bye Eve. Speaking of Eve, actually, oh, actually, before I say that, before I move on to Eve, was there anything else you wanted to add about that last bit?
Nah.
All right, cool. All right, so speaking of Eve, there, so Eve had a storyline in that she kind of quit the Guardians for a bit. She was doing her own thing for a bit. And part of that was helping out people in the neighborhood because, she has her powers where she can control atoms and build things. And then her step parents were, stepfather in particular, wasn't too happy about that, saying that, he didn't want her money, he didn't want this, and wanted her to make stuff, like he's trying to, I guess, to my mind, he was trying to get to understand that things need to be worked for. And, so she went ahead and built the whole playground for those kids, and it ended up falling apart because it wasn't built on solid ground, which is why it wasn't being commissioned in the first place. So to me, I thought that was an interesting story as to, you could have superpowers, but doesn't mean you can fix everything. And it seemed like to me there were Eve was potentially learning a valuable lesson about that. Like, yeah, there are rules in place for a reason, and yeah, you might not always agree with the rules. And yeah, sometimes the rules are BS. Let's be clear. Let's be fair. Sometimes the rules are BS, but other times they're there for a reason. The playground wasn't built because it was unstable ground, and you potentially could have put all these people in danger. So I felt like there was an important lesson to be learned, but then it kind of reneged on that a little bit when I think it was Rex, I can't remember that now, but I think it was Rex that was talking to her, and he was saying about, oh yeah, you saved all these people, which is all true in that, but it's like, yes, you save people, and you should remember that, but also let's not forget that you can also be putting people in danger if you're not following certain guidelines, if you're not paying attention to, your whole power is about moving atoms. So shouldn't this whole incident mean to you that because if you haven't already, as it seems, maybe learn more about building structure, because it seems like you haven't done that. So, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to be moving things around and fixing stuff, maybe learn about how things are structurally put together so you don't have things falling apart like what you've done. And it seemed like that's what her father was trying to get to understand as well. But it didn't seem like that lesson was fully learnt by her by the time she comes back to the Guardians. It just kind of felt like that was kind of pushed to the side a bit. Like, oh yeah, it's fine because I saved some people. It's like, yeah, you saved people, and that's great. Congratulations. Not taking that away from you. But since your powers are about moving atoms, maybe consider how atoms work. Like, might be a thing. But yeah, what did you think of Atom Eve's side story?
I feel like her father is just an asshole. Like I don't think he was trying to teach her anything. He's always talking down to her, always making her feel like shit, just being a fucking asshole. He's a piece of shit character. It would have been more interesting if he was actually trying to teach her something. That would have been way more interesting. It would have been cool. It would have been a nice flip. It would have been made him more understanding. One of those fathers, like my father is a stern. My father will sit there and argue with you till your face turns blue, but he's doing it for a reason, and you may not realize at that point in time. But yeah, but not once did he ever go ahead and disrespect me and put me down and make me feel like shit. And if I'm taking it that way, then he quickly lets me know, hey, that's not what's going on here. And this fucking character here, he just talks shit. That's all he does. Talk shit, talk shit, talk shit. Oh, and it's not even, yeah. Oh, no, that's too off topic. Anyway,
All right.
I just do not like that fucking character at all. As far as
fair.
her
He
her
was an
lesson,
arsehole. I think that's fair. He was definitely an arsehole of a character. And yeah, maybe his motivations wasn't really about teaching her. Yeah, that's probably fair as well. But he wasn't exactly wrong either.
yeah, but just because somebody isn't wrong, like you know, doesn't make them right. You know,
True,
because here's the
true.
thing: somebody could go ahead, somebody that's hating on you, right? And I'm not saying, oh, he's just hating on his daughter. Nah. I'm just saying, as an example, somebody hating on you, just they could be talking shit about you. And just because you have one slip up or you want have one fuck up or whatever, that doesn't mean that they were right in everything that they were saying or anything that they were saying. It just means that they had like it's like that saying, and I'm gonna butcher it because I don't normally say it, but the clock. that's right, the broken clock
Oh
that's
yeah,
right
the
at least
broken clock's
once.
right twice
Yeah.
a day. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's like that, you know? Um, Eve's own lessons and everything, that's what she has to deal with. And I hope she doesn't, I hope they don't turn it into where she's thinking like maybe my father is right. Nah, no, no. He's a piece of shit. Whatever happens, happens, and you gotta deal with it on your own. Disregard that motherfucker. Focus on you, and that's it. Everything that you gotta do and all the growth that you gotta make, focus on you. So I hope they
yeah.
have her be a strong character like that, where she can shed off all that fucking trauma from her father and just focus on, growing into the hero that she needs to be.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair what you said. That I mean, how you deliver a message is as important as the message itself. Like if you might be saying the right thing, but if you're saying it in a bad way, you're going to lose that message, or it's not going to come across as well as it could. So yeah, I mean, he was definitely more. Yeah, he was an arsehole character for sure. But I do think it's an interesting thing where it's like you have people who aren't necessarily on your side; they just talk shit about you, and like you said it. But eventually, a broken clock is right twice a day. Um, but I feel like it's also a part of that is recognizing when somebody is right, and even though they said something to you in a bad way, even though they're clearly not really on your side, they're just talking whatever, and they just happen to be right at this particular moment. Sometimes you do have to recognize that if somebody says something to you and it was the right thing, or it was a smart thing, or it was a good thing for you to maybe learn and understand, you should still take that on board, and maybe not give them the credit for it. Right? Maybe not, hey, you were right, but maybe not that. But at the same time, if somebody was like, just talking shit about you all day, every day, and then but what one of the things they said to you was, you're so dumb, you don't have a savings account or something, you know what I mean, or something like that. And it turns out you don't have a savings account, and you start thinking, actually, maybe a savings account is actually a good idea to have. You'd want to take that on board because it's still good advice. It just came at you from an arsehole of a person. So yeah, I feel like yes, how you say something is important. How you deal with a situation is important. And some people are just arseholes, but sometimes even the arseholes say things that are actually true and correct. And as much as it sucks to to receive a message in that way, yeah, I do think it's important to be like, you know what, that's actually good advice, and you need to like kind of take that on board.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you with that one.
You've had an experience like that where somebody's just been an arsehole to you, but they say something that was actually true, or as actually good advice at that one time. Of all the crappy things they said to you, they said that one thing that was actually good advice, and you just kind of like, damn it, why does it have to come from him? Of all the people, does it have to come from him?
Nothing too drastic, but yeah, I've been in that situation before, but nothing where it was like life changing advice. Thankfully, not.
Mm. Yeah, no, same. I mean, to me, I can't remember what it was, but yeah, it wasn't anything like say nothing like drastic, life changing, nothing like that. But I think it was like a place where I used to work, and just some guy. It was guy who was just a complete and utter arsehole. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe he had problems. I don't know. But at least as far as I can tell, dude was anyway. I won't get too much into it. But yeah, and then I think something he said about the job we're doing, and it was kind of like, oh man, should be done that way, shouldn't it? Flip, no man. Now I'm gonna have to hear. Now I'm never gonna hear the end of it that he was right about this, and it's like, jeez, like, put
Yeah.
up with this now. But yeah, good advice is good advice, even though it comes from an arsehole of a person. But I get it.
Yeah.
Um, so let's see. What haven't we talked about just yet? We haven't talked too much about. I guess we haven't really talked too much about the new kid, Oliver. And I'm not sure there's too much to say about Oliver, but he came in as I guess half Viltrumite, half forget the name of the alien race. But it was a race where they age really quickly. So his mother wasn't able to take care of him because he's aging slower than they are, and she's gotten really old. But then Viltrumites, of course, age really, really, really slowly. So it's like a combination of two almost opposite genes. And right now, at least at the end of season 2, you can kind of look like a really big baby. That's how he kind of looks like you look like a 2-year-old in a baby's body, or a baby in a 2-year-old's body or stuff. I think you know what I mean. But you just look a really massive baby. Anyway, what's your thoughts on little Oliver and how you think they might develop him for, or if they develop him for season 3?
Uh, right now I'm not too interested. I know there's a lot that they can do with him, but at least for season 3, I think he's still going to be a kid, and I hope that he's not annoying because this show has a tendency to fall into tropes that I just don't like. So I really hope they don't make him the annoying kid. Uh, I hope they do something interesting with him because right now he's a blank slate with a lot of potential. So there's a lot that they could do, a lot that they could bring in that's new to the story, new elements and everything, new type of character, especially with his own struggles and everything. I just hope he doesn't turn into this angsty, annoying kid. For the love of God, I hope they don't. And that's pretty much all I gotta say about him right now.
I guess he's gonna go through that before he gets to his adult years. But
Yeah.
yeah, be interested how they do it, how quickly and slowly he ages, and which genes, I guess, become more dominant. Because I think with Mark being half human and half Viltrumite, he grew relatively human-like up until about 17. I think from there is where he starts slowing down, if I remember how they explained it. So he grew pretty much like in human years for the first part of his life, and then I guess when the Viltrumite stuff kicks in is when his age starts slowing down. So it could be something similar with Oliver once the Viltrumite stuff kicks in. Maybe his age slows all the way down, but well, waits to be seen. Waits to be seen.
Yeah.
Another interesting character, at least interesting I thought for this season, and I'm blanking on his name right now, but Cecil, because it is pronounced Cecil. Well, Cecil has a right hand man who wears glasses that died in season 1, and then he's alive in season 2, and then we find
Mhm.
out that he's actually died multiple times throughout his career, and he's been rebuilt, memory erased, and he's basically a Terminator with human memories. But then he had a scene where was it Mark's friend's boyfriend who also got
Yeah.
rebuilt and was about to jump off the ledge and ended up talking him down. So he had an interesting development, I thought, for this season, finding out that, he's opted to have his memories erased because of how traumatizing what happened, and so he can just do what he needs to do, and that he's just been rebuilt and just kept doing his job. That's kind of an interesting revelation. What did you think of character whose name I can't remember right now?
I think his name might be Dexter, but I'm so used to call him Bobby. Um, because the whole
I'm
King
gonna
of
look it
Hill
up while
joke.
you're talking, but okay, cool.
And mhm. and like I would say I like what they did with his character. I feel like, you know, at first I was getting frustrated because I'm like, man, just fucking do your job. And, you know, I get it. Once I calm down, I stop being so frustrated because like when it comes to stories and everything, sometimes I get a little impatient because I don't like to watch a struggle that I'm not really caring about. I didn't care that he was struggling to realize what's different about him or feel like something's missing in his life or whatever. I didn't care. This wasn't a character that I connected with the first time. So I didn't care about the struggle. I still don't care about the struggle. But um, where he came and rescued the boyfriend, and explained his side, I was like, damn, that's actually deep. And I like the execution. I like the payoff for that. But that was about it. You know, I didn't care
Mm,
about his struggle. I didn't care about his identity crisis. I felt nothing. I was just like, hey, let's go. Like, let's go. I do like the revelation that this happened multiple times. It wasn't like a shocker. Like I wasn't sitting there like, oh my God. I was just more like, oh, that's cool. That's dope. Actually, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And yeah, that was cool. Um, but honestly, that's all I have to say about the character. I don't
mm.
dislike him though. I do like the character.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And by the way, his name's Donald. Just got it now. Name's
Oh
Donald.
wow. I would have never guessed.
Um, Donald Ferguson. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that's fair because I feel like in season one, he's in season one kind of throughout, but he is very much a background character
Hmm.
throughout season one. So you don't really have a lot of time to really connect with him or get to know him anyway. And perhaps had they had him a bit more in the forefront, by the time stuff like that happened, it would have been maybe like, okay, what's going on here? Maybe have more interest in it. Um, but yeah, I think that's fair because like it's kind of like, okay, wait, he died, didn't he? And then he's back, and then clearly something's up, right? It's clearly something's up, but in terms of like your interest and how interested you are in what exactly it's up, yeah, I think I get it. Just because like Donald is just kind of, I mean, in fact, we couldn't even remember his name. You know, like, couldn't
Yeah.
even remember that. Both of us, right? Couldn't even remember his name. We watched the show to prepare for this, when we still couldn't remember this name. You know, so
Hmm.
I don't know if that means anything, but I feel like it kind of, at least me, says that there wasn't enough of him to connect with. So by the time they did that in season two, it's kind of like, yeah, it's cool. It's an interesting story, and yeah, definitely the payoff was really cool as well. But ultimately, it's like, yeah, who's the guy again? But yeah. Let's see here. Let's just run through some lists and make sure we covered as much as we have. By the way, in America, do you guys say do you actually say Cecil?
I
Is
haven't
that how you
really
say that name?
that name is like a rarity. So I don't even know, to be honest with you. And I haven't really spoken with many people about Invincible. Besides like, you know, the obvious parts. Like, oh man, can you believe that he did that in the beginning? Oh man, he keeps getting his ass kicked. That's it. Like we don't really I I never really had like a deep conversation with anyone about Invincible.
Until now.
Yep,
Until
until
now.
now.
um yeah, I mean, there's not many people I know in real life called Cecil. In fact, I believe I've only ever met one person called Cecil in actual real life. But yeah, I don't want to say it's a common name over here, but you know, there are people with that name. They are around, you know, but I think I've only ever met one to my knowledge. Um, but yeah, we do say Cecil, and the whole time I was saying Cecil, I'm just like, it's not even that deep. It really isn't, but it's just like it stands out so much. You know what I mean? It's just one of these things that stands out. Like, why are you saying it like that? Like Cecil, like Cecil, Cecil. You know, like where's anyway? It's not that deep. It's not that deep. um. So yeah, with the cast though, like there are quite a lot of, at least to me, pretty well known actors that have showed up in the show. Like, I mean, Stephen Ewan, Sandra Oh, J.K. Simmons, um, Zazie Beetz, Walton Goggins. I'm just running through the names that I know of. There's loads, Kerry Payton, quite a few people who was in Walking Dead, actually. At least 3 people who were in The Walking Dead were in this. Was that 3? Did I count it right? Yeah, 3. Ross Marquand as well was in it. So yeah, it's quite a few names out there. I mean, it's not it's a big TV show. Of course, they're gonna get good actors, but usually with shows, there's maybe a few names I recognize, like especially on newer shows. Like, there's a few names that I recognize, and the rest is all new to me. But with this one, there's definitely more than a few names I've recognized and seen in various things over the years. Did you have Seth Rogen as well? Just and Mark Hamill's in it. Yeah, Mahershala Ali. But yeah, Rhea Sequel. I'm just going through the list. Like, there's a good few. Jaimin Hounsou, Ezra Miller. Oh, no, let's not talk about him. Phil Lamar, Lenny James, another Walking Dead guy. Sonequa Martin Green, another Walking Dead actor. Justin Roiland, Sean Patrick Thomas, Ella Purnell. Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of names I recognize. I mean, was that the same for you, by the way, or did you just don't even know who I'm talking about?
No, I know a lot of those actors, but I didn't even know they were in the show, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the things with animated shows. Like, you just hear the voice, unless you recognize, unless they're using their voice and they got a very distinct voice they recognize. You might not know.
I mean, that's the way it should be. I feel like it's too distracting. Like, even Alan's voice being voiced by Seth Rogen, it was distracting at first, but eventually the story on him started to get better.
And Seth Rogen, I think, is one of the producers of this show, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the producers. So yeah, he pops up. He's actually one of the producers of The Boys, actually. I know he's popped up in in that a couple of times, or maybe one or two times, as like a real sort of minor background character. But yeah, I think he's one of the producers on The Boys. So yeah, he's keeping busy. He's keeping busy. But yeah, got it here. The Boys executive producer. But yeah, that's the thing with voice actors or any animated shows. In fact, we'll talk a little bit about this with Celeste the other day, where the whole kind of voice actors strike on at the video games actor strike, and it's like, yeah, they should get better work conditions, of course, and better pay, and I ain't even saying that, but yeah, a lot of the times, unless you're looking into it, you don't always know who the voice actors are. And even sometimes when, like you say, you know these actors, but from their voice, you don't necessarily recognize them. So it's kind of one of these things where it's like, yeah, they should get all their stuff, but I mean, there's a lot of star power they don't really have as a voice actor, and I think that's where it's often comes down to. Like, whereas a movie actor can command all kinds of things because it's their face, their body, their immediate recognition. People see them and be like, oh, that guy's in a movie, I'm going to go watch that movie. There's a direct correlation when it comes to movie stars. With voice actors, it's not really quite like that. So it's like, yeah, you should get these things, but they could just as easily go with somebody who's not making those demands, and that person could still be a really good actor and really good voice actor and put up with all the nonsense that they'll throw at them just because they want the job, and probably do it cheaper too. But yeah, that's a shame with it. That's a shame with it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anyway, that's a bit of a side rant. Voice actors should get more money and respect, but unfortunately, they don't have the star power. At least most of them don't. Anyway, there's a few voice actors are exceptions to that rule, but yeah, generally speaking, voice actors don't have that kind of star power.
Yeah.
All right. I think I've talked about everything that I've wanted to talk about in regards to Invincible seasons 1 and 2. How you feel? Is there anything you want to add, or anything we haven't talked about? Anything you wanted to mention?
Nah, we covered everything. I haven't even watched any trailers on season 3 besides that teaser that they did where they mentioned, oh yeah, we're not gonna do a break for the next season. That's the only thing I've seen. So I don't know what's gonna happen next. I'm I'm not like sitting on, and waiting like day by day for it to come out. And that's why I do with a lot of shows. I like to just, oh, it's out, okay, and I'll go and
Yeah,
check it out.
it'll get it when it gets there, if it gets there at all. I mean, there's quite a big break, I think, between season 1 and season 2, if I remember correctly. I think it was at least a year or two.
Oh, it was definitely
Um,
a long time.
it was quite a bit. I mean, let's see, season
Yeah.
1 was 2021. Oh, just clicked on the wrong thing. Let me see it. Damn it. Episode guys. Oh, flipping out. Clicking the wrong damn buttons.
Hello?
But yeah, I
I
think
mean, it makes
flipping out.
sense.
But yeah, it was a bit. It
The
was a bit
budget is not
anyway.
crazy.
It was a bit.
So
So what was that?
their budget is not crazy, so it makes sense.
Yeah, 2021, and then season 2 was 2024. So yeah, about 3 years.
Hmm.
And of course they got to animate it. I'm sure that takes time too. So they can't rush these things if you wanna make a good job, want to do a good job. So yeah.
Hmm.
But I'd imagine season 3. Actually, season 2 was 2023, at the end of 2023. So yeah, about two and a bit years, I guess, really. But yeah, my guess would be season 3 would probably be sooner. That'd be my guess. I doubt it'd be as long, especially if they're doing. I haven't seen a teaser trailer, but if they put out teaser trailers already, then yeah, I'd imagine they've probably a good way along, be doing it a lot sooner. But hey, like I say, we'll see. It gets there when it gets there, if it gets there at all. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said before, I think overall I still enjoyed both seasons 1 and 2. I think it's a great show, so I'm still looking forward to season 3 and seeing how it continues. Hopefully, it's not one of these shows that's just going way longer than it needs to be. I feel like it's something that can maybe do for maybe 5 seasons, and then 4 or 5 good seasons, and then let it go. I think once you start going longer than that, I thought you enter into dangerous territory, because it's kind of like, bruh, come on, end this already, right? But I could be wrong. Maybe they could do 10 great seasons. Well, I'll let them decide. But not that they're asking me anyway, of course. Like, how many seasons should we do? But to my mind, I feel like, yeah, 4 or 5 really good seasons, and then it could probably end there. That's how I'm feeling about it right now. So yeah, I'm still looking forward to season 3. Hopefully we I don't want to say get answers. But yeah, I do feel like maybe some things could be explained a bit better, especially in terms of like the whole, the time traveling stuff, and how it just came out the blue and stuff like that, because like like we say, it's a bit of a really kind of thing what they did. But yeah, season 1 and 2 are both are still really good. I know we disagree on this, but I do want to see more Amber. But I'm kind of feeling like we're probably not going to. Uh, you might be glad that if they don't. um, but yeah, I'm still looking for season 3 whenever that is. So yeah. But yeah, I think that is everything we have to say about Invincible thus far. Let us know what you think. Do you agree with me about Amber? Do you agree with Sweet Bunny about Amber, or do you have a completely different opinion about Amber altogether? I recognize. I already know I'm in the minority with my opinion. I know. So I know. You don't need to tell me. I know. I know. I'm probably the one person that's on Amber's side. I'm like the one guy in the world. It's cool. I'll stand alone, so it's fine. But yeah, let us know what you think of Invincible. Drop any recommendations, suggestions in the comments. But that's going to be all for now. So thank you for watching and or listening. And until whenever, if ever, peace.